Welcome back to another episode of the Family Album, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, AJ Tenari.
And I'm Matt Glass.
Last week you heard our fucking epic episode where we talked about Devo and Bastille. A very interesting dichotomy of albums, would you say, Matt?
Yes, dichotomy, the buzzword of the last 4 weeks.
Exactly.
It was definitely an interesting one.
It was. Speaking of interesting, we actually have our very last guest episode of the season, and we wanted to make it special, so we brought in two inspirations to this podcast. We got Ben Mascioli and Evan Vandenbrul. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
All right, that's this week's episode of the Family Album.
Thanks for listening. This has been so much fun.
No, it's crazy. We're actually just one person and we're swapping voices, right, Ben?
Don't you dare pin me on that. No, I am not a part of you and never will be.
But we'll never interrupt each other because we're technically the same voice, right, Ben?
Fuck, dude, he's got you there.
He got me.
Ben and Evan, tell us a little bit about yourself, music taste, music background. You guys got some projects in the work too, right?
Yeah. God, how far back do I go? I'll just give a general statement of I play music, so that's like my background in terms of like why I'm so associated with it. I primarily dive into heavier genres like heavy metal, hardcore, punk, like anything like that. But I do love all kinds of music. I'm inspired by all kinds of music. So that's primarily my background. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
You're in a band.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in a band. Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
Oh, yeah. I'm in a band. We're called Obsolescence. We primarily are a hardcore metalcore group. So if you're into bands that are like Knocked Loose, Whitechapel, Slipknot, anything like that, you'll probably like us.
Yeah. You'll have a good time. As someone who's not very into it, they're pretty cool.
Hey, thanks, man.
Evan, how about you?
I don't know. I did musical theater in high school, and then I got a really pretentious taste in music afterwards.
You're the bassist for a little underground band known as Rotting Animals.
How could I forget? Yeah.
What do you mean? He was the guitar player. I was the bassist. No, I'm sorry.
Tim
Slim
was
Tim was the
bassist.
Yeah, that's me.
Don't ruin the illusion, Ben.
AJ, I completely forgot you made that video. I got to be honest with you.
There are 2 real albums out there. I'm not going to tell you where to find them, though, listeners.
What are you talking about? I actually came prepared with the link. I thought we were listening.
Not this time.
Everybody link in the description.
No.
I promise you they're gems. They're fantastic.
Much like gems, you'll need to dig through a lot of shit to find
That
them.
is exactly right.
There are some hits, though.
Guys, little known fact about this podcast. Ben and Evan actually are the inspirations behind this podcast. They started a podcast in 2020 called Album Tonight that only ran for 3 episodes, but I thought it was a really cool idea and I wanted to keep it going. So
Yeah.
tell us a little about your experience with that.
Well, I think the mistake that we made when doing it, not that the idea was a mistake, I actually had a lot of fun doing it. I think the biggest mistake that we did, though, was we tried doing everything in one night. Mm-hmm. So, similar to Rotting Animals.
That was 1 hour.
Yeah, right. That was what we would do was we would each give an album to each other, and we would actually listen to it in real time while recording the podcast. So,
for the first impressions, yeah.
Yeah, for like very raw first impressions of what we were hearing. So we would literally record an intro, stop recording, listen to an album, go back, record our thoughts on the album, go to listen to the second album, and then record those thoughts. And then we were done. It's like, all right, great. We just spent 2+ hours doing that. You would
Time
think,
to bounce everything.
Yeah, you would think you'd think we'd be done with the work, but we decided, no, let's just edit and mix it now. So we basically would spend, I don't know, what, like 6 hours?
I was going to say like 5 or 6 hours wasn't uncommon. I don't know if the episode ever got out that was switched on Bach and
I don't think so.
That's another thing. Only 3 episodes were released, but we recorded like 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
if
this episode gets like 100 views on YouTube, they'll release the rest.
Yeah.
Well,
I had a great idea for the thumbnail of the first episode, which was just
Lars Ulrich.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
and we
just set the like zoom in effect to do the entire duration.
Yeah.
Of the
Yeah,
video.
so-
They're still on YouTube if you're interested in checking
Oh
it
yeah,
out.
that is still on YouTube.
Right. Well, and not only is that the theme for the first episode, wasn't that? I'm pretty sure that was the theme for every episode that
Yep.
we released. Was just a
different picture of Lars Ulrich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The greatest drummer of all time.
Yeah.
And no one can disprove that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
He's the he's the greatest.
Keep that in
drummer
mind,
of
Evan,
all time.
all right?
Don't you forget.
Well, it's a fun little history lesson.
AJ, congrats! You're better than the best drummer of all
Let's
time.
go! I did it!
I
Wow,
would
thanks,
not,
Evan.
I would not doubt you are better at drums than Lars.
I've been trying to learn Master of Puppets. You know, one day I'll get there.
I think so is he, actually.
You would think after 40 years he'd actually learn how to play better.
What a no fact.
I literally saw a video the other day of like all of his bandmates getting so angry with him because he just was like fucking it up every single time.
That sounds about right.
It's pretty good.
Metallica, what a band!
They are a band.
What?
And we're a podcast talking about 2 albums every week. And as you guys know, our guest picks the theme for our albums this week. So Ben and Evan, what is your theme that you brought for us?
Before we do that was a fucking awesome transition.
That was
the
you.
way you
very-
transitioned that. That was amazing.
He is the king of them.
I tried.
That was slick.
Thanks,
Um,
thanks, man.
I guess theme is 90s
Humor
comedy,
Kinda?
rock.
ish.
Question mark. Basic. One of these albums was picked before the other.
Right.
We'll
And
put it
the
that
other was
way.
a course correction.
Yeah, I would say there was a theme. And then after listening to both albums, I don't think there really was one anymore.
A theme.
It's kind of
in
there.
quotes.
I can draw some connections between them. I mean, one, they're both by Warner, so
Okay.
Okay.
there
Warner
we go.
comedy albums from the 90s.
90s. You gotta get that in there.
Both have B in the band name.
That's true. He's got a
Yes.
good point.
That is really true.
I've never thought of that, dude. That's a good thing.
That's why they pay me the big bucks, dude. That's all I'm saying.
There's a lot of white guys on the verge of rapping.
Yes. Yeah.
Guys, what are your albums that you chose for this week? Ben?
I chose Mr. Bungle's self-titled debut on Warner Brothers.
And I chose Barenaked Ladies Rock Spectacle
2 peas in a pod, really.
on Reprise, which is owned by Warner Music Group.
So it counts.
So it counts.
But before we dive into either of these albums, we're going to take a little ad break. So we'll see you when we get back. Hey, Matt, you know what I love?
Steely Dan?
Well, yes, but I also love how easy it is for 2 goobers like us to make a podcast.
I mean, with Spotify for Podcasters, it's no wonder. Spotify for Podcasters is a one-stop shop that's got everything you need to create the perfect podcast.
That's right. Using Spotify for Podcasters, you can directly record and edit your podcast wherever you are using their intuitive and easy-to-use website.
And once you're done editing, Spotify for Podcasters takes care of the hard part and distributes your podcast directly to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are available.
And now you can even make video podcasts available on Spotify, which gives you even more freedom to make the podcast you want while also giving your lovely listeners a chance to see your face.
Speaking of listeners, Spotify for Podcasters also encourages fan engagement by letting you get feedback directly from your listeners with Q&As and polls made by you.
You can even make money with your podcast through ads, podcast subscriptions, and donations directly from your audience.
Spotify for Podcasters offers all of this, and it's completely free to use with no catch whatsoever.
Guys, Spotify for Podcasters made recording and distributing the family album so easy. Being able to schedule our episodes ahead of time and letting them take care of distribution took so much weight off our shoulders.
For anyone that's ever even thought about starting a podcast, we highly recommend giving Spotify for Podcasters a try.
You can download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
Once again, download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters.
And we're back. It never gets old, does it, guys?
That was weird.
Hey, you know what you said? It's like the Truman Show. We go into a void when the ad break happens.
That's true.
I don't know.
That's canon.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I went to film school. For some reason, I thought you were just about to do it in front of us.
The ad break?
Honestly, that would have been really
He had
awesome.
He had it fucking memorized.
I do your
like,
part too.
Yeah.
Like
would've
I
been
am,
awesome.
I am fully aware of nonlinear production, but I'm sitting here. I'm like, I wonder
What's
what the
gonna
ad's gonna be.
What is the-
Well, sorry to break the illusion, Evan. Damn it. Well, you know, what album do you guys want to start with? Evan, Ben, do we want to do the classic album tonight bit where you roll a die to see who goes first?
Do we have a die?
I could pull something up on my phone.
That would
I do also have
that
Dungeons
would
and
be
Dragons.
Why you have 2 dice in your pocket? That's fucking wild.
Just like somebody from the movie Guys and Dolls, just like always, just like with a crapshoot.
Exactly.
literally.
That's my iconic character trait.
What was the thing?
Guys and Dolls.
You're even
That's-
Ahmad. I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
For those who don't know, which is I'm going to assume is most of you, at the beginning of every Album Tonight episode, they would roll a die to see what album would be talked about first, and even was Evan and odd was Ben.
Yeah.
And it is a 2, so Evan, we're going to do Rock Spectacle first.
All right.
This is gonna be quite a build-up.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, am I not the
Ain't
historian
that
this
the
time?
truth?
Let's fucking go. Evan, did you do research?
Oh, I did a ton
Let's
of research.
go.
Yeah.
Take my job.
All right. So here we go. Rock Spectacle by the Barenaked Ladies.
He fucking brought a
yeah, I
CD
was
in the
just-
studio. What the
Well,
fuck?
about
okay,
to
before
say.
we even get talking about the album, I brought this just for the hell of it. It was in my room. But for some reason, like, I'm pretty sure they drew one of the band members as Vegeta on the back
Yo,
of it.
hey, yo.
Vegeta?
Hold up.
Like,
Holy shit.
Am I wrong?
He's like Vegeta combined with what's his name, Pugsley from the Addams Family.
That's what I always wanted.
Exactly. The crossover we never knew we needed.
Pugita.
Pugita.
No, okay, so it was released in 1996 on Reprise Records.
November 19th, to be specific.
Yes.
Because AJ did his research more than you.
I just
It is my show.
I
my job.
I mean, I didn't have the Wikipedia page up. But Barenaked Ladies at this point consisted of Jim Cregan on bass, Kevin Hearn on keyboards and accordion, Stephen Page on lead vocals and guitar, Ed Robertson on vocals and guitar, and Tyler Stewart on drums.
You got him.
They're all from Ontario. They're all a bunch of goofy lads.
Yeah.
Who had a major success in Canada with their first album. Basically nothing in the US. And then it was kind of diminishing returns the next 2 albums. They did well, but it was nothing
In comparison, yeah.
in comparison. And then they got a new manager by the name of
Barenaked.
Mr.
Is that Bear Grylls, but like he's just nude all the
Fully
time?
naked, yeah.
That's right.
Mr. Terry McBride.
Terry McBride.
How could
Who
you forget?
who brought them to the forefront of pop culture. I don't
Yes.
respect that.
Well, the audience doesn't know what you're talking about, Evan.
Yeah, so you just sound crazy.
Don't gaslight the audience. That's my job.
Fair enough. No, but he brought them to a wider audience. He really pushed them on TV shows.
Was that from this album?
So, yeah, this album came out. Okay. The tour that this was recorded from was in promotion of their 3rd album, Born on a Pirate Ship, which, like everything,
Obviously,
there's-
yeah.
is a joke. Yeah. And then Brian Wilson on this album, the live version, got radio play. The Old Apartment was on that previous album and was getting airplay. But this got them to a more known point. They also had a song on the Friends soundtrack.
Oh, thank God.
But more importantly, they made a guest appearance on The Weird Al Show.
Oh, shit.
No
Yeah,
fucking way, really?
And after that, they were the biggest band. And now they were just, it's just a very random
Rock
appearance.
stardom.
it's the way I whole ass believed you for like a second. I was like, oh my god. Oh, okay.
Oh, man.
That's so cool.
If that happened there, this is going to be.
I'm a gullible lad.
This is going to be
Yeah.
a buck wild time. But really, the shadow that hangs over all of this, and a song that is thankfully not on here, is the song that got popular right after this.
Yeah.
A certain 1 week from the Digimon movie soundtrack. Yeah, thankfully that hadn't been written yet, and maybe we'll talk about it if it comes up again. But yeah, this is basically capping off their career before
Week.
one
Yeah.
week.
Well, what do you say we just dive into this deep dive?
Yeah.
All right. So starting off, we have the big kahuna. We got Brian Wilson. Perfect way to open up this album, and a very good version.
He's here.
He's not here yet. Okay?
Wait, where?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Brian,
Brian
Wilson.
I may not always love you.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Get out of here.
We might have a little interruption from Nate Roos. Just be prepared. It's been happening. We've been trying to do our best, but
Dude, I thought we fucking kicked him out the last time.
it's happened the past like 2 episodes. Just Be on guard, okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
Well, if
I'll
I
kick
see
his
him,
ass.
He's like a 40-year-old who looks really, really
Really
young.
young. I heard. He looks so young, I heard.
it's not just we. He is young.
That is true.
He will set the world on fire.
And there's nothing we can do to stop him.
And at this point, he knows he looks young.
Yes.
It's just been
He's
brought up-
gaining power.
He's gaining too much power.
Guys, but Brian Wilson live is a very good way to open up this album.
So, on that bit, so this song was from their first album, and it was decently big in Canada. This live version got radio play in the US. And then somehow, I think a friend of a friend, like, knew Brian Wilson. He came and visited them in the studio.
Oh, shit.
Performed his version of this song. He asked them, was that cool? They were like, this is the coolest thing ever. And apparently, according to Ed Robertson, he leaves and goes, okay, guys, don't eat too much. He described
solid
it
advice.
as surreal.
I can imagine.
As one would.
Yeah.
Every interaction with Brian Wilson I have ever heard about, just surreal is the only thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds
for
about
sure.
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, what do you guys think about this opener?
It's like quite a vibe. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
It's a pretty strong opener for this live album, I'd say.
It's really good. And one thing with this is, like a lot of live albums, the order is changed from what they were actually doing set list wise. They
Yeah.
opened up, I think, most of the dates of this tour with a song called A, which was from their second album, which is fine. But having this open is way better.
Yeah.
It's a great opening.
Okay, before we go on, because you brought up a good point. So the songs aren't in order of the set list. Are each song different nights that they performed
We can
in?
get into that.
Whoa.
I
I'm
went
excited.
down a
We got
whole rabbit hole for
Okay,
this.
because that was one of the notes I had, but I'll talk about it later.
Sweet.
So to sum it up, we can get back into this later, but this is billed as being from two shows, one in Montreal, one in Chicago, both April/May, spring of 1996. Brian Wilson was definitely from the Chicago show. That's
Okay.
Yeah, I can at least say that for certain. We'll get into everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this song is excellent. I mean, I don't have anything
Just a very good way to
bad
open.
to say about it. I mean, it really shows off all of the musicians'
Yeah.
abilities. That bass solo at the end is
Yeah.
excellent.
Mhm.
And also, everyone on this album is great, but Kevin Hearn on piano is
Oh,
just
yeah, dude.
phenomenal. He was their second pianist. It was crazy. Like, after this album, he got diagnosed with leukemia.
Oh,
and
shit.
He survived.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was this whole thing, and I think he's still with them. I think him and the other three members are still with them. Page left
Yeah.
in 2009, which there was also some other things involved with
Okay.
that.
For another time.
Yeah, maybe that does not relate
Yeah.
to Brian Wilson.
Speaking, I will say though, for this track, and honestly for most of the tracks, the snare drum on all these tracks,
Really good.
I was gonna say they sound Saint Anger-ish to me.
Really?
Yeah.
I like it a lot, actually. The one thing I noticed throughout all of the songs, because one thing about this album was I listened to each song trying to critique each song, but I ended up just critiquing things about the album in whole. And
Gotcha.
one of the things was I actually really liked the production for
Yeah.
it being a live album.
It is
I
very
also
good. Yeah.
have to concur with that as well.
Yeah, like it doesn't feel overly like reverbed out where it's like they're trying to create like almost a bigger space. Like it feels intimate.
Yeah, it's very
but
clean too.
But it's
Yeah.
just really clean. So I do really like the production.
And you
on
still like
this.
hear like the audience too, so you have that like
Yeah.
atmosphere in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it just, I don't know what these shows were in terms of how many people were in the audience, but to me it doesn't sound like many, which is like a good thing. It feels intimate. Like
Yeah.
it feels like you could actually be there if you close your eyes and you're just listening.
One might even say naked.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But yeah, my thoughts on the actual song is basically agreeing with everything you guys said. It's pretty depressing though when you read
Yeah.
the lyrics.
Yeah, that's the thing with a lot of this. For the Chicago show, because there is a bootleg of that whole thing. the guy actually opening up the show, like saying like, "Hey, I'm from the venue. Here's the artist." He said something along the lines of like blending humor and sincerity with like, I guess just that. And that's really what this band is about.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the humor from the next album, but that's certainly
not the case at all.
Yeah, but there's a real playfulness to everything here. However, there's an emotional core to all of these songs. All of these songs?
Most
of them.
Maybe not.
There were a couple that definitely
Are a little more serious.
Well,
yeah.
a little
to that
bit,
song. But yeah, and also I was just gonna say, I mean, this applies to every song on here, but the harmonies.
Oh my god, they're
that's-
incredible.
yeah.
They're
They're
incredible.
great.
That's like a note on half my songs where I'm like, shit,
Yeah,
dude,
dude.
these are tight harmonies.
And from what I can tell from listening to, they weren't soundboard recordings, but the bootleg from the Chicago show, and then they did a filmed version of the Montreal show. Is that, at least in terms of the harmonies, it doesn't seem like they like spruce too much up mixing after, which is really incredible that they were able to do this live. Really, the harmony on the last word "stop" is just
Beautiful.
incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see if I have this written down. But at one point, Paul McCartney like specifically shouted the band out for
Oh,
how
shit.
good their harmonies were.
Nice.
Yep. Paul McCartney expressed his admiration for the band and their harmonies in 2008, a year before things went really bad.
oh, Jesus.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that kind of a problem, though? Paul McCartney died.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
all the way back in the 70s, so who cares?
That's true.
well, sorry,
Classic, thank you.
Sorry, Raul McCartney.
Right, yeah, thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Raul.
By the
Okay.
way, I just wanted to let it known, I don't have too many notes on each of these songs
That's
for the
fine,
reason
yeah.
that, like, I did really like this album, so I'll be pretty quick with things I have to say.
That's fine. Besides, I mean, you can see my notes.
Oh, holy
Oh,
shit.
you came prepared.
Yeah, a little bit.
So,
Not their fault.
That's rough.
Brian Wilson, really good way to open up rock spectacle. Anything else? Or should I move on to this next track?
Now let's move on.
All right.
I
Next
don't
up.
know. Maybe I have.
Evan, you talked enough. Yes, Matt.
I was just gonna say they and in the lyrics they mentioned Dr. Landy, and I went,
Yeah.
gross. I know that guy.
It's the Brian Wilson lore song, unfortunately.
What an awful man.
Yeah.
What a
Speaking
pedagogue.
about awful men.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this
Straw
next
Hat
song.
and
Old
Dirty
Dirty Hank.
Yeah, this one. This is the worst song on the album.
You don't like it?
Oh, I do not like
I like
this
the
song.
chorus, like the delivery of the vocals a
I
lot.
also,
Like,
yeah.
I'm a farmer. Like it's fun.
Yeah. Do you know what the song's about?
It gets dark.
I looked up the lyrics because I was like, I think the song's supposed to be funny, but I'm not sure. Then I looked up the lyrics and I was like, I don't know if it's supposed to be funny.
Is it gonna
honest-
ruin the fact that it has accordion? Because I really like that.
Maybe a little bit. So
Fuck.
I got the gist of what the song was about before I looked it up, because I hadn't looked it up until like a couple days ago. Do you know who Anne Murray is?
I've heard the name.
That's all you need to know.
Okay.
She was a famous Canadian singer, and this farmer like stalked her. No pun intended, I guess.
I was gonna say pun intended, but then I felt it would be inappropriate. Am I right, Phil?
Fellas, we've all been there.
Let's see.
So, is this like based off a true story? Or,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
From the unofficial Barenaked Ladies Wikipedia, the song is written from
Shout
the
out.
point of view of a farmer who stalks a famous musician, believing that they are meant to be together. It was inspired by the true story of, I think, Robert Keeling, a Saskatchewan wheat farmer who became obsessed with Anne Murray in the mid-70s and made repeated attempts to meet her, resulting in a restraining order and around 30 court appearances
Holy shit.
between 1980 and 1981.
Wow.
God, that gets my jimmies warm.
30.
That's actually an Anne Murray song, getting my chilies.
Actually, the inspiration behind the crime.
Wait. 30 court appearances? Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope he has field hands. I mean, like, I mean, really.
But the accordion is very good
Yeah,
on
the
the song.
accordion's
The
pretty cool.
accordion is very good. I think I get a bit uncomfortable by
Verse.
Stephen Page doing the,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
which, yeah, there's a live video of that, and it is even worse.
I can imagine.
It's a weird song. I just don't. It just doesn't fit with the rest of the album.
Yeah, I guess
feel like.
tonally too,
Yeah.
with their
I can see
style of
that,
humor.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was a song they were going to put on this, and then
It's actually called 1 Week, surprisingly.
it was actually called Barenaked Ladies.
It just didn't roll off the tongue as well.
I really hate that because there's an episode of Sanjay and Craig.
Oh my god!
Called Naked
You can
Nate.
just stop
Yes.
there.
Like I don't know what. Like I hate the fucking fact that like my brain's like,
Yeah,
oh wait,
Sanjay and Craig.
Holy shit, Snake Man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, you were saying something profound. Let me not interrupt you.
Was I? Thank you. No, it's just there was a song they were gonna put on here called Shoebox, which is nothing special, but it's also a more upbeat song. It has Paige on vocals, and I think that would have been a better fit. It ended up being the B-side to the 1 Week single.
Oh shit!
Yeah, but we'll get to These Apples. I'm not a huge fan of that one either, but really, aside from these two, I really think the other songs are near perfect.
It is a very solid album.
Yeah,
through
I
and
would
through.
agree.
Yeah, and this is the accordion song.
It is.
Is it the only song that has an accordion?
I don't think so.
I think there's another
Okay, I was
one.
gonna say there definitely
Break
has
Your
to be.
Heart has an
Yeah,
accordion.
I think it is
Yeah.
Break Your Heart.
Okay, yeah. Because the only thing I noted about the song was I really liked the orchestration and instrumentation choices for this song, but I didn't particularly. Not that I didn't like it. I thought it was a fine song. It's just it wasn't as good as others. And that's kind of like those are my thoughts for like the majority of the album is that either songs were I loved it or it was fine.
All right.
It was all right. Yeah.
I will say the one moment in this that I will never be able to get out of my head is the beginning of the last pre-chorus where you just hear this loud thunk on the piano and then him scream, I know your address.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Which if you weren't tuning into the lyrics before that, it's
You'll know now.
You definitely.
it's kinda like,
were
hey, pal.
listening there. Just to let you know, I know your address.
This goes to all you listeners out there. Evan knows all of your addresses.
He will be seeing you soon.
He is a farmer.
And you're awesome. And you're awesome.
I work in the fields all day.
Well, show me what on this next track, Break Your Heart.
Sure.
I really enjoy this one.
I love
too.
this
This one's
song.
great.
Oh, Break Your Heart is
A little 6/8 never hurt anybody. That's all. That's what I always say.
I was gonna say the 6/8 feel is beautiful. It's a slow 6/8.
Yeah.
But it's very purposeful. It's very meaningful.
It's a nice ballad.
I feel like, oh shit, my bad.
No, please.
This has never happened before. You just want to interrupt AJ. He yells at me
No. I'm nice.
and then he hits me.
Please.
Don't tell them.
Fuck, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding. I was just gonna say I think the vocals really shine on this track a lot.
Yep.
It's interesting. The studio version was originally going to be on their second album. It got pushed back to their third album. And the studio version is fine. It has some weird production choices, which I'll get into. But what I'd argue is my favorite part of the song, which is the scream before the last line.
It's so good.
That is not on the studio version.
Oh my
shit.
god! It's,
Yeah.
that was
Sweet.
that part gave me instant chills, and I was like, "Damn!"
Yeah.
Like it just sounded like he was giving it his all, and I appreciate that, like coming from a vocalist standpoint of like when you can give it your all on a live show, especially if you're on tour, because when you're touring, like you got to be careful with your voice. Like you can easily blow it out, and that sounded like he meant it, and it sounded like it was coming from a really deep place. And it just gave me chills. I was like, if he's doing that every night, damn, I feel bad for his voice, but he's got commitment.
For real.
Yeah. And it's weird. So I'm assuming none of you listened to the studio version.
Nah.
No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, there's a saxophone on the bridge in the studio version.
Oh shit.
Is it good?
I don't know. I've heard this version so many times that when I actually went back and listened to the studio one, I was like, I don't know if this is bad or if this is just
You
me
prefer
not
the
being
live.
used to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think the live version's better. That's the thing with all of these, because I went back and compared the live version to the studio version, and some of them are very similar. The Old Apartment is basically just the same song. But a lot of them are either just as good or better, which I think is incredible for a live album, because their live albums I really enjoy, like Stop Making Sense, where there are just some songs on there. By the way they produce them in the studio, they just sound weird live. Once in a Lifetime and Psycho Killer on there just don't sound correct.
Yeah, I will say real quick, sorry to interrupt, is that if I've listened to a Barenaked Ladies song before, it was like an accident or like my mom had it on, because like I've never
actively sought them out.
Barenaked Ladies is a band that like has definitely been on because of my parents, specifically my mom. Because funny enough, I asked her a couple days ago, just because I was listening through this for like the second or third time, and I was like, do you know if Dad likes Barenaked Ladies? Because for some reason I kept thinking it was him, and she's like, probably not, but I really like them. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because I've never listened...
Thanks, Linda.
Yeah, so sorry.
Shout out Linda.
Shout out Linda. Linda's a G. But yeah, the whole reason I was saying that is because I don't think I've purposely listened to the studio versions. And one of the things I thought after I think it was literally after like the third time, I was like, man, I want to go back and listen to the studio songs. And my fear is that they're not going to be as good. But like, I don't know. So that's why I'm like curious to go back and listen to them after,
Yeah, I think it's one of the benefits to this whole album is the fact that on the studio versions, when they tend to be goofier with stuff, it can come across as a bit almost like frat bro-y, like, hey, like, we're being really goofy, guys, which is fine. But some of the production, especially on their first album, makes it sound like they're doing like a coffee shop performance.
I see.
And them being like really goofy, which I don't think goes together well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the consistency of the instrumentation on Rock Spectacle and the fact that they're interacting with the audience with the jokes really helps kind of sell their sense
it also
of
helps
humor
like
better.
how into the show the audience is. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
There's some funny audience interactions, which we'll get to on the later songs.
Yeah.
But on this song, it's just
sincere.
everyone's in tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right,
Yeah.
moving on. We have Jane.
Jane.
I fucking love this track.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think the chorus is just like so fun, and what was it? The drums just like fuck on this track, like so hard. Honestly,
You're gonna be mad at me, Matt, but this song gave me American football vibes with the guitar work. I don't know, really kind of brought me to I should be leaving soon. Give me like that kind of song.
Oh God, Matt's brewing. I'm just looking at him.
Yeah, steam is
Interesting.
coming out of his ears right now.
If there was a guitar line I was going to compare to that album, on this album, I would have said These Apples. That sounds way more.
I
like
don't just to hear it was like I don't know. It
guys,
clicked.
I liked this album.
Don't bring American football into
Why
this.
would you do this to me?
We're going to keep that take, right?
Teen Dreams.
Oh my god.
It's the one with the Wurlitzer.
Yeah.
It's so social.
Listen to episode 9 if you want to get that reference.
Yeah, exactly.
That was really good, man. That was a solid intro.
I sat way too long. I've been trying. Here's the thing. I've been listening to it, like still trying to like it. I've come around a little bit, but not enough.
Yeah.
It's so hard trying to do that. Usually I'm pretty successful listening to albums again to like them. There's one that I have never been able to succeed with.
What's that?
Bitches Brew.
Oh yeah, by Miles
Really,
Davis.
Miles Davis?
I love the other electric stuff he did in the late 60s, early 70s, like Jack Johnson and Live Evil on the Corner. Even before Bitches Brew with In a Silent Way. I do not like Bitches Brew. I do not get it. That is not.
We're not here
related
talking
to
about
the-
Bitches Brew. We're talking about Jane by the Barenaked Ladies.
Jane.
What a great girl.
Between St. Clair or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the girl works at the store, Sweet
Yeah.
Jane St. Clair. So the story is apparently Paige wrote this song with Stephen Duffy, who was a founding member of Duran Duran, but not with them when they got big. It was like when they were first starting out. And then he had his own hit with a song called Kiss Me. But anyway, they wrote this song together. They were looking at a map of Toronto, and Duffy was like, oh, like the intersection of, I guess there's like a Jane Street and a St. Clair. He's like, I bet that's beautiful. And Paige was like, no. Like, Toronto's great, don't get me wrong, but most of the intersections in that city wouldn't make me want to write a love song.
Yeah, that's
It's
fair.
more just like, this is Toronto.
There it is.
Even more Toronto.
Who else but Toronto?
Evan, you're also in this song. There's a lyric.
Yeah.
Juliana next to my Evan.
I'm assuming none of you got the
No.
reference there.
No.
Yeah, no, that's a Lemonheads
I thought it was about
reference.
you.
No.
Lemonhead's like the candy?
No, like the band.
Like the band, Lemonhead.
Yeah.
Mrs. Robinson.
Shame About Ray. Yeah, the
Yeah.
cover of Mrs. Robinson.
Oh, they did this.
They covered it.
Oh, they
Yeah.
covered it. Okay. I was like, they're the band that did Mrs. Robinson.
All the way back in the 60s, man.
I thought that was Simon and Garfunkel.
Garfunkel, who is mentioned later on this album.
That's true.
I think the funniest thing about this song to me, aside from the Steal Things line, which I always get a kick out of, is this is basically just a song about having or trying to have a relationship with a manic pixie dream girl.
Yeah.
Before that term was like
Popularized.
a thing. I mean, like I could be wrong in that interpretation, but that's certainly what it sounds like.
Yeah. I can
This
see
guy
it.
really wanting to be with this girl and this girl being like, this is not what I want to do. And also, I kind of don't like you.
We've all been there, failures.
Just by the way,
Stay strong.
Yeah, I was going to say, back to the piano, there's this great like call and response thing they do on the second verse with the piano. It's just pretty.
Mm-hmm.
it's nice because like even though I mean like it's there, but it's not like so like overwhelmingly present. Like it just kind of ornaments it,
Yeah.
which is really really nice.
Yeah. And really something about all the love songs on this album, it's really cool to me when more like humor oriented bands do love songs because they tend to have a really unique perspective on it. I was going to say earlier, Break Your Heart sounds a lot like something like I'm Not in Love by 10cc.
Oh, shit.
That very sort of like reluctant to have emotion sort of thing. And yeah, I think that really benefits this album because it doesn't feel like generic love songs. Like, you know, I don't have anything against Hootie and the Blowfish, but like
I miss the old Kanye.
I'm glad someone said it. That's all I'm saying.
I was really just setting that one up for you.
Thank you. I was so. You know what's funny? One thing I was gonna say about this album was like, man, like I get like a little
It could
bit
use more Darius Rucker.
Well, I was.
If I had $1 million.
Well, it's funny because when I was listening to this album, one of the things I thought was, oh, I could totally see like Hootie and the Blowfish like touring with Barenaked Ladies, and the one thing I thought was just like, yo, Kanye would rip.
And we're back.
The thing about Jane that I really liked, I think, was just the simplicity of the chorus, because that's the one song that stuck with me. Was just a Jane.
Yeah. It's just a really pleasant vibe. It's cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. And I hate going backwards, but I forgot to say about Break Your Heart. I loved the lyrics of like the whole content of it. That was something that I don't think has, like, it's a very specific thing that they're talking about. And it was like, I don't know if I was just relating it too hard, but I was like, damn, like that's fucking real.
Yeah, no, I felt that.
Like,
yeah.
I can't recall a song where that was like the specific scenario. And I was like, damn. And for those of you that don't know, it's about, for what I gathered, a guy who does not love, or it could just be a partner. It doesn't matter who it is, but a person that
Is in a relationship.
Is in a relationship, but they don't love their partner anymore.
But they're sticking with it.
They're sticking with it because they're afraid of breaking their heart.
Yeah.
And the partner's like, just do it. Stop tormenting yourself and just do it. And the guy or the person eventually does it, but still feels the guilt. And I was like, shit, that's like real. You know, I don't know many songs that are like that specifically, but yeah, sorry to go backwards. That was just something that I remember listening to and just thinking like, damn.
Yeah, like especially when it changes to the girlfriend's perspective. Like those lyrics are really fucking good.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, next up, we got When I Fall.
Yeah, this one is it's very sad.
This one is very sad. This is the first one on here where the lead vocals are by Ed,
Okay.
who, I mean, he has a fine voice
But just like in comparison.
in comparison to Page's.
That's funny. I did not notice a difference in
That's
vocals.
what
Yeah,
I
neither
was
did
gonna
I.
say. Yeah,
Was it actually a different vocalist?
Yeah.
They sound so damn
yeah.
similar.
Wow.
It's one of those things where Robertson usually tends to stay more towards the melody line, especially when doing the songs live, which Page will add a lot of flourishes and stuff. And he also just doesn't have the range. I mean, that's why their voices harmonize so well.
Okay.
Obviously. God,
yeah.
it's so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's parts on here where they're harmonizing. The part of the song where they're talking about like his dead grandfather. I wish I could bring up a different lyric to describe that, but
Yeah.
there's that part where they're both singing at the same time. But when you're just hearing one voice, it is Robertson
Okay.
on this one. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I like that. This was the first country-esque song. Like, I got major country influences from this song.
for sure.
Which wasn't a bad, and I'm like not one, well, I like country, don't get me wrong. I don't care for like modern country like a lot of people, I feel like. But I was getting massive like early, 60s countries vibes from this. And the funny part about that was it was the guitar playing, which the thing is, it doesn't sound super complex, but the actual technique needed to kind of play that part, you need to be very precise because I don't know if I mentioned it. I also play a little bit of guitar, just a little bit. And the one thing about what he's doing is he's doing a lot of sliding, but letting notes resonate longer than other notes. And the thing with that is you can get a lot of fret buzzing from that, and you can get a lot of like finger sounds when you do that. You don't hear almost like any of that.
It's very clean.
Super clean.
Yeah.
So it was very impressive listening to that.
The guitar work on this entire album is great. The amplified acoustic has this really nice bright quality to it.
Yeah.
And the quality of the playing is immaculate. Now, they always could have touched it up in the studio a bit, but from what I've heard of the actual like live recordings, it sounds pretty similar. I was gonna say something. I forget. Cool.
Moving on.
The context of the song is very dark. This window washer who's suicidal.
Yeah.
That's
Which again, I mean,
When I fall. Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
I see.
That's a funny concept, and they play it seriously. That's not something a lot of bands could pull off or want to pull off.
Yeah.
Like if Genesis was based on Harold the Barrel. Based on Harold the Barrel, I don't think Genesis would take this song the same direction. It is good how they have paced the songs in terms of upbeat and downbeat.
Yeah.
Because if you had Break Your Heart followed by this, followed
Dirty
by
Hank.
or I was gonna say followed by What a Good Boy.
Yeah.
That would just be too much.
Yeah.
And into like These Apples or something.
Right.
But it's all track, and then we move on to Hello City, one I'm not super huge on. It's kind of like it's a whatever song.
Yeah, I like this one. This was the opening to their first album, and then it kind of bookended it the same way. The same way Dancing in the Show Tonight bookends the Mollusk, where it has
a reprise.
it has like a minor reprise, not minor key, just like small,
Small part in comparison
at the end, and then a bonus track stuff. So yeah, it basically is that.
Oh, cool.
This was about their experience in Halifax for the first time, where apparently like no one
They hated it.
cared. Did you read the report where he's talking? He's like, I took a photo of the audience while I was on stage, and when I got the picture developed, no one was looking at the camera. Which is
pretty good.
Which is just, I mean, we've all performed on stage. That is an awful feeling, whether
That's
it's
rough.
theater or like music performance. Doing something and then knowing
No one's
one
paying
out
attention.
there. I've also run sound for shows like that.
Yeah.
So there's like secondhand embarrassment. It's rough.
But yeah, apparently they have a better relationship with the city in future years.
Good.
Because they knew how to
Go about it.
Also, people knew who they were, so
The 1 week came
helped.
out.
Yeah. I don't feel like there's a ton to talk about here. It has a real sort of jazzy.
It's a fun little
style.
jaunt. Yeah.
Very shuffly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of.
And the recording comes back here.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, okay.
Like,
That's not even something I noticed.
I did write that in my notes. It makes me sound like I'm like in a city in Venice or something like that. You know what I mean? That's
Even though it's Nova Scotia.
yeah. You know,
They're basically the
the
same.
Venice of Canada. if you
Even
will.
though it's fucking Halifax. Are we in the 1800s? No. Anyway.
I just said the song was fun. It didn't strike me in any... Like, I thought the vocal harmonies were really good. Again.
Inoffensive.
Yeah. It was fun, but it was just another, like, it's fine.
This is certainly on Rock Spectacle.
Yeah, it certainly is one of the songs on Rock Spectacle.
expanded edition.
Yes, exactly.
I think
Gotta
you
be
mean
clear.
enhanced edition.
That's it. My bad.
We got to make that clear.
It started with an E.
We are
my
so
bad.
sorry.
All right.
Pentatonics fans, please don't come after us
All right,
again.
I'll see myself out.
Barenakedladies.exe.
My favorite creepypasta. All right.
Sorry, that was like a moment of inspiration.
Just keep that in the back of your mind, Evan. We'll talk. Next up is What a Good Boy. I like the overall like theme and message of the song, but the song itself I'm not too huge on. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of the chorus. I forget what other song does this. It was like in the early 2010s, but it does the thing where it's like the last line is then the first line of the next thing.
Right.
Although, especially with their earlier songs, because this was on their first album, some of the lyrics can be a bit clunky.
Yeah.
Cross that I bear.
It was hair shirt.
Hair
yeah.
shirt is woven from your
Your
brown hair.
Mhm.
It's
What?
Where can I get a hair shirt?
Let him cook.
you're gonna have to give me a while, but
Yeah,
I
I
can
got
get
you.
it for you.
Kohl's.
Yeah, Cole's Cash.
You have to, it's only purchasable with Cole Cash.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Y'all want to shake your ass for a Cole's? A nice Cole's hair shirt.
Oh shit. Oops.
All right,
Motherfucker.
in the car, let's go.
We'll be right back. Wow, that was a great shopping spree at Kohl's, guys.
Man, this shirt
Oh,
is itchy
boy.
as fuck.
You said it.
Now I get why it's his cross to bear.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's
Like it's cool message about like gender roles and like
and expectations.
Hello.
someone just waved at us into the studio and that just really threw off my mojo. Anyway, yeah, cool theme and message, but it's kind of boring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was
Musically-
nothing that stood out to me. The one thing that I wrote down was there. I don't even know if it's the background guitar. It just sounded like more of a background element, and maybe it's just how the instrumentation was working. But the actual guitar pattern that they're doing in the choruses, I thought that was cool. It was again with When I Fell, or When I Fall. Sorry. It was the same thing where I was like, oh, like that's cool. You got to be really intricate when playing that. But besides that, it was like, it's fine.
When I Fell is actually it's the aftermath of like when he fell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of
exactly. It's
When I
part
Fell.
two.
Yeah.
I fell off the window.
The only thing I wrote down about this
Can't
song
look
was just
straight in the boardroom. I'm on the ground now.
Anyway, Matt.
You're good. What was it? The only things I really wrote down about this song was that just like I really like the piano in it.
Yeah, especially the outro. He's
For
really
sure.
good.
For sure.
Stop.
And this lyric was a bit on the nose, but I did like we've got these chains hanging around our necks. People want to strangle us before we take our first breath. It's very
That's definitely the best line in the
Yeah.
song. I think just the extended metaphor thing kind of falls under the weight of itself.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'd say this is probably the worst ballad on the album, but
Yeah.
saying
It's got
that,
tough competition.
Yeah, saying
Yeah.
that is not saying it's bad.
It's solid, you know?
Yeah.
Just not the favorite.
Exactly. Next up, we got The Old Apartment, one of the other like big singles by BNL.
Yeah, as I said before, the live version is basically just the studio version,
Okay.
which is fine. I still think the energy carries this one. It's funny, but it's never as funny as the first time you get the lyrical twist, because the whole thing is it's like, oh, I broke into an old apartment, and you're thinking like, oh, this is some crazy ex. Then he's like, no, I still live with my girlfriend. This is just where we used to live.
live.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh. But since the song relies so much on that twist in the bridge, like lyrically at least, I think it kind of loses some of its charm because its whole point is like deceiving you
Yeah.
at first.
So once like the surprise is over, it's kind of like, what am I here for?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a cool song, I think.
Like it's fun instrumentally.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also living under a weird landlord in kind of a bad apartment.
Yeah.
Worth writing about.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that that you really like the music. It's funny. I kind of thought the opposite. I actually really liked the lyrics more than I liked the music. The music was fine. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, the one line I wrote down that I was just like, that's funny. Are these things used to be mine? Well, I mean, I guess they still are. I want them back. And it's like, that's a funny line, but I can understand, like, even though this is like a pretty, I don't want to say funny because I feel like the deeper
Like
message,
silly.
it's silly, but the
It's
deeper,
tongue-in-cheek.
It's goofy.
yeah,
Barenaked
because
Ladies.
the deeper message of it I got is that it's literally like something that I once knew to love is now being changed. You know what I mean?
And you're not ready for that.
Yeah, and I related to that a lot, especially, we've all been to college. We all knew what that transition was like. So that's kind of where it put me. It's like, oh, I remember that big transition, and like looking back either, in my hometown or whatever, and just seeing things changing, being like, damn, like it's not how I remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, lyrically I related this, and musically it was fine, but by this point of the album, I was like, man, some of these songs are starting to blend together for me.
I felt like they're. I felt like God damn it! I felt like surprisingly my fatigue was never like reached with this album.
Yeah, like
which is nice.
Definitely like I would never say I got like old, but I was just kind of like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool. I'm in your house. Oh man,
I'm in your walls.
You have my stuff.
I want it back. No, I used to put on this album while mowing the lawn because it worked well for that. It didn't get old. Same with Guardians.
The soundtrack.
Both those soundtracks. Yeah. Anyway,
Life in a nutshell.
Moving away from my life, let's move to Life in a Nutshell.
Hey, that was pretty good, Evan.
Thank you.
This song is interesting.
This might be my favorite off of the album at the moment.
There's some good fucking keys on this song.
For sure. The piano just fucking shines.
This is the song
much.
that's easily the most different between the studio version and the live version.
Okay.
Discounting some of just the banter on If I Had $1 Million.
Yeah.
Because the studio version on I Think You Should Drive has that more like coffee house sort of like jazzier feel, but this one's more like a straight like rock pop song. Sorry, I think we just had a ghost visit.
Yeah,
us.
we just got hacked in real life.
Oh shit!
What the fuck?
They're in.
Shit! Wait,
They're in.
Kyle!
he's here. He's still with us. It's
I thought he died!
Holy shit! It's like Stranger Things.
Oh my god.
Kyle,
He's in the walls.
Can you hear me?
If you're with us, knock 3 times.
Oh, that's so
I
weird.
just shit myself, guys. I'm not gonna lie. That
I'm
was
used to
scary.
it at this point.
Is the scary smoke man gonna get me, AJ?
Sounds like a yes, Matt.
Fuck.
But not until we finish up this episode. Anyway,
Oh, damn.
the ghost can wait. The ghost can fucking wait. Life in a Nutshell's the next track we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a cute song.
This one's just interesting to me because I think it's really
Some
catchy.
weird lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the lyrics are so interesting. Kind of what Ben was saying about Break Your Heart. This is a perspective I've never heard on another song, which from what I can gather is a clingy relationship where the guy is like, yeah.
That's fair.
Here we are.
Which is given context as to why he's like, yeah, this is what I like. He's like, I was in an awful place and then I found her and this is good. And so I'm just going to stick with it. But yeah, it's about like a very clingy relationship.
I see.
But yeah, also those like bum 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 things at the end of the song. I just
The little barbershop
find them-
quartet.
Yeah, I think that's really
Yeah.
charming.
It's goofy.
Also the growl.
Yeah.
There was
Just
a
have to
growl.
mention it.
Yeah.
I didn't notice
Again,
it.
again, not on the studio version.
That
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I didn't even notice a growl.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a growl in the sense that you might think like,
Oh, it's
oh
not,
god, death metal vocalist
It's
doing
just-
a growl.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
it's not like
something like that.
deathcore or anything,
It's
but,
just
like-
it's just like a
Like a little noise he does.
yeah, more like a grunt. You know?
Paige and his noises.
Bum bum bum.
yeah, that's basically
Pretty much it.
I mean, it's the reverse order, but yeah.
I see. Gotcha.
Get it right. Anything else about Life in a Nutshell? Shall we move on?
Not really. I mean, again, this is probably my favorite at the moment, but because of that, I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like, I don't really have
Fair enough.
This song I didn't have too much to say about.
Same here.
Honestly.
which transitions smoothly.
Into one of Evan's least favorites.
These apples.
Yeah. So why
This
don't you
is-
like this one, Evan?
This is such a nothing song. Like, so Ed hops back on the mic, his long-awaited return
Thank God.
for a song that is like if Jane forgot the plot. It's just like,
Yeah.
this is goofy.
Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
I shaved my name in my head.
I wonder if my letter will still get to you by train.
Yeah.
Near Lethbridge. Got those Canadian references in there.
Gotta have them.
Gotta have them. Yeah, I like the guitar in the song more than anything else.
The guitars are nice.
I used to really not like this one, especially because it transitions out of a song I really like and before another song I really like. It's just kind of this like weird penultimate like, oh. Yeah, I do like the instrumental break in this one though.
Yes, during that outro with the
Yeah.
guitar, it's really fucking good.
Along with the instrumentals, the one thing I really liked, and this shows you that they're damn good musicians, is that when they would do those mini like beat and a half breaks, where like they'd all pause the vocal. I forget what the vocal line is, but then they all come back in.
Mhm.
If you try counting that, they're not on there's no counting.
Yeah.
It's all feel.
That's cool.
Like if you listen to it, it's not like they come back in on a downbeat or an upbeat. They come back like almost in between somewhere where it doesn't fully feel like it's in time, but they all come back in. And it's really neat. So
Nice.
musically, I was like, that's
impressive.
That is
freaking
very
cool.
impressive.
You know?
Oh, I forgot to mention this, but on What a Good Boy, when they do that, they add an extra pause before, I think it's in the second to last chorus, where it's like, be with me tonight. They take a full pause and then come back.
Yeah.
Which the audience cannot get in sync with. Yeah. So you just hear everyone in the crowd go, be with me. Which I partially think that's the way it is on the studio recording, but I hope the band was like, oh, we're gonna
fuck with them. Yeah.
because that would be a great bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this was it was a funny song. This was like at this point in the album, this was the first song that I was like, okay, like this is like funny. You know, like all the other songs, I was like, oh, that's kind of silly, whatever. But this was the first one.
They
I
were
was like,
really
all right,
leaning
they're
into
really
it.
leaning
Yeah.
into the comedy. Same thing with the next song. Yeah. So
It's just a bit too like, I don't know, like maybe wink wink for me because he's like, I'm not trying to sing a love song. I'm just trying to sing in tune. And I'm like,
Right.
okay.
It's like, all right, you
Okay, guys, wrap this up.
I get it.
You got 9 minutes left in your album.
So the only thing I've been saying the same thing over and over about the piano. I just like the organ in this one.
It's good.
I
Yeah,
don't
the
really
organ
have,
is very nice.
I don't really have much to say about
Yeah.
this one
Yeah.
either.
So you didn't like these apples, Matt?
No.
How
just bluntly.
How about
no.
Damn Apples?
That's what I was going for.
From the
didn't
hit,
really play.
From the hit movie
The Nut
Hunting
Job.
Goodwill.
Wow, that was great.
You know what else is great? This
final song.
track.
How did you have the nut job?
I'm
on your
always
mind?
thinking of the nut job, Evan. Anyway,
What?
if I had $1 million as the closer to Rock's Bed School, and it is a very nice closer. There's some very goofy bits in here.
Yeah.
I like the lyric. I like the lyric. I would never buy you a fur coat. That would be cruel. And then it's followed up by I would never buy you a green dress. That would also be cruel.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That
that's a
wasn't
great
the original line.
Oh.
The original, because they recorded a bunch of demo tapes with this song on it. And eventually one of them got very big, which was the one just called the yellow tape. But the original line was with a tasteful rounded neck after the green one. But then he jokingly went, but not a real green dress. That's cruel.
That'd be cruel.
Which is just
That's funny.
genuinely
Yeah,
funny.
it's a good line.
Yeah, so the intro to this one
Grade
is
9.
Grade 9,
Yeah.
which if you listen to the studio version is chaos. Not as chaotic as anything we're about to talk about.
That's true.
Right.
Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Family heads.
But yeah, they sample the drum solo from Tom Sawyer.
Oh, shit.
And then they play the Linus and Lucy theme and then end with the ending riff from Spirit of Radio. Yeah,
Okay.
It's
I mean,
God, that's
Canada,
what I would have
yeah.
done. God.
yeah, obviously. Yeah, so it opens up with that, and then it goes into the song.
You can't like Duran Duran if you play football, I found out.
Yeah,
That's true.
I see.
That's why none of us play football.
Exactly.
Thank God.
I can't give them up. I can't quit them. Even
I
if
wouldn't
I
have
tried.
survived a minute. I would have been like, my favorite song's Rio. All right, here's something I just need to say. So, with the songs on this album, I was pretty good about figuring out which ones were recorded in Chicago, which ones were recorded at the Montreal show. I have genuinely no clue where, if I had
If
$1
I had $1 million, yeah.
like, it sounds like neither of them. I think it's a composite of multiple recordings.
Okay.
Huh.
But also, neither the Chicago nor the Montreal one opens up with Grade 9. The Chicago
see.
one opens up with them covering Wonderwall.
That's crazy.
With the
What?
That's pretty funny.
with the backing, like, just as a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in 1996, Wonderwall
Wall's a
was
meme.
already a joke.
Yeah.
Nice.
What was that? 2 years after it
2
came
years,
out?
yeah.
But then what makes that more confusing is the banter about the lady is later revealed to be about the Briar Street Theater, which is in Chicago,
Oh.
but it's not on the. I genuinely, if anyone in the Barenaked Ladies subreddit has an answer to this, because the rest of the songs, except for When I Fall, that's listed on neither of the track or neither of the set lists.
Okay.
So I do not know where they got that recording from.
Guys, any of you naked lures out there who want to shoot us some Barenaked Ladies lore, that would be greatly appreciated.
One thing I will say about this track is that I genuinely got like such a boost of adrenaline when I heard the audience singing the lyrics and then doing it back. Like something about
They're
that.
so into it. It's great.
It was fantastic.
They're so connected.
A little too into it. Do you know the thing about the Kraft dinner incident?
No.
So they say we wouldn't have to eat Kraft dinner,
But we
would.
would. Yeah.
Because Kraft mac and cheese is the best. We can all agree on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So they say that, and then the audience, like, over time was like, hey, we'll start throwing boxed Kraft dinner at them. Which, when they were a smaller band, was like,
That's
whatever.
awesome. Free dinner.
Yeah. But by the time they're going on national tours, and it's a full audience,
Jesus
Great
Christ.
free dinner.
yeah. So at a certain point, they like fully stopped it. But there was like a transitional period where they had like a food bank stall out front, like, hey, please, for the love of God, give us your Kraft mac and cheese here. And like I found from the actual Chicago recording of this, Ed Robertson's like, we mention $1 million like 100 times in the song, and you don't see some philanthropist coming up to the stage and throwing down
Dropping
a
a
wad of
mill.
hundreds. Yeah. And then he pretends that Bill Gates walks into the crowd.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a good bit.
Yeah, but that's just funny. There's so many good lines in this song.
Have a fruit roll up.
That's a good line.
You're kidding.
Like all these like brand names is reminding me. Have you guys ever seen the video of when Bill Gates was on Ellen and he was trying to guess the prices of like regular
Yes.
supermarket items?
It is so just like, holy shit, you're so not
like in
reality.
touch with anything.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
It's like almost a little disgusting. Like it's
That makes
weird.
sense.
Yeah. You know, it's disgusting in a different way.
Barenaked Ladies.
Him jumping the chair. Have you seen that?
No.
It wasn't with Ellen. It was with some other interviewer. And the interviewer was like, hey, Bill, what's a skill what's a talent you have? And he's like, I can jump over an office chair. And she was like, what? And so he proceeds, and I'm not kidding, you can look this up. He proceeds to get out of the chair he's sitting down in, and without running, pure lateral, just jumps over the chair.
That's
How
insane.
old was he when he did this?
I mean, this is mid-90s. This is
Oh,
probably...
okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
In
that's
his
that's a
prime.
flex, dude. I'm sorry. Like if someone did that to me, I'm not even gonna be like, what the fuck was that? I'm just gonna be like, yeah,
Damn,
you're
all
right.
right.
You're
Just
right.
take
You
more of
could
my
go
money,
off.
or whatever.
I think it's really a shame that that's like the multi-billionaire that Gen Xers got, and we fucking got Elon Musk.
Yeah.
It's hey, he was Wario at one point.
And the world was never the same. Anyway, if I had $1 million, this is a very nice way to close.
It's a great way to
But there
close.
are 2 secret tracks on
secret tracks.
the enhanced edition.
Indeed.
Yeah.
One of which is talking about a lady, which I think I've quoted with my dad like every
Hey,
time.
lady.
Excuse me.
This is called Sweetest Woman. It's
There's
just-
names for these?
Yeah.
girls? Oh wow,
Yeah,
I didn't
not
even know
either.
that.
It's called
Technically, I think
yeah.
they're like fan names because it's not even like they
Nah.
have it on the
Right.
actual-
because there's like a full minute of silence before they come in.
Right.
Yeah. But it's just like banter between the audience and BNL as he
Right.
recounts a story about meeting this lady who was not.
It was pretty funny.
In the true spirit of Chicago, was a complete jerk.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
kidding, Chicago.
I like how he was like, I even felt bad afterwards.
It's the
why am I feeling
It's
bad?
the most Canadian thing. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Well,
Man, I should have known where that was.
Bro, it's so funny. Like
sorry.
I didn't realize how fucking Canadian he was until he
Until
was
he
like,
started
sorry. I was
speaking.
like, huh? Oh, okay. Wait, I do have a question. Is this the origin? Is she the Barenaked Lady? Like, is this?
No.
Yeah, actually, fun fact, she came up to him fully naked. He was like, that's
That's
it.
the name. That's the band.
we've been doing this for 6 years, but I finally have a name
We
for this.
found it.
Erase history.
We finally found her. No.
The Barenaked Lady.
The one and only. Now they bring her on tour everywhere they go.
Yep.
And then they talk about
And they give her a fruit roll up while she's on stage.
Oh God.
Anyway,
Yeah.
the next one is called Uncle Elwyn.
And I love Elwyn. What a guy.
My uncle Elwyn is tall. My Elwyn is small. My Elwyn plays a mean basketball,
Basketball.
which is so much funnier when you
'Cause it's
realize
true. Oh.
that if you're listening to their albums in order, and you end this album with them jokingly rapping about his uncle Elwyn. The first song on the next album is 1 week.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
The thing is, like, the more I looked into their career, 1 week was like an inevitability because they kept doing these like jokey rap things, like when they were on TV.
I see.
Or even like on some of the albums. And the label was just like, yo, you should do that. And they did. But yeah, one of their demos has a cover of Fight the Power on it.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the worst thing I've heard. I will say this. It seems worse that it's like, oh, we're doing hip hop. I think they were, this is a weird thing to say. I think they were the first like indie white guys who were like, we can play an acoustic guitar and sing hip hop, which in the age of YouTube is not unique.
Yeah.
In the age of AJR is not unique.
And in the age of some nights,
that is also
completely
true.
fell flat.
Yeah.
I.e.
But goddamn, Nate was just so young.
Get the fuck out! Sorry. I knew it was gonna happen. It's just it was a matter of time. He sneaks up on you.
He's a little tyke, you know what I mean? Like,
Not only is he so
but
quiet,
he's like 40, which is interesting. It's the interesting thing, actually.
he's just so young looking.
Don't be fooled, though. Don't be fooled, man.
he's 40, remember?
Anyway, what are our final thoughts on Rock Spectacle? Matt, what did you think of Rock Spectacle by the Barenaked Ladies?
I really enjoyed it, actually. I mean, I didn't know any of the discography prior, but I feel like overall, like the mixing, it just made everything sound like so complete. And for the most part, I don't have any qualms with it whatsoever.
Yeah. So what would you rate it out of 10 tier list? You know, this is episode
whole
20,
thing.
Matt. Come on.
No, I understand. I'm getting there. No,
Figuring it out as we go.
Let me cook.
I would say probably B+ tier.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would definitely return to this for sure. It's that I don't know in terms of like number where I would like put it. I'd probably say like
A million.
well,
One crab dinner out of 10.
Exactly.
listen, if I had a million, no, but I would probably say a solid 9 for the fact that the last track was 9 minutes.
Yeah.
With a minute of silence.
Exactly.
With a minute of silence.
I lived in Egypt for 2 months. Anyway, Ben, what do you think of Rock Spectacle?
Yeah, similar. I had no qualms with it. Similarly, some songs fell flatter than others. Yeah, so overall, it was good. I would definitely revisit it. And the one thing is, I want to go back and listen to the studio albums to compare them.
Absolutely.
Just to see the difference. Or I can't see music. Just to hear the difference.
That actually is a thing. It's like synesthesia. Isn't that like a thing where like people can sort of like with their
Like see
other
colors,
with their
yeah.
other senses they can sort of
Yeah.
experience like the other senses.
Barenaked Ladies allow you to
Smelly
do that.
tongues.
I just want you to know I can't do that, but if I could, wow, that would be fucking awesome.
Like wow, this is such like a purple song. You know what I mean? Like imagine
I
that.
can really taste it.
If I were to rate it, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10, and I'd put it in a B tier. You know, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was like the greatest thing I ever heard, but it's by far not like bad.
Yeah, no.
So I'd put it nice in the center. Like I would revisit it. Sure.
Nice.
Beer tier. It's
Beer tier.
You can't listen to sound without a beer. You know what
That's
I mean?
what we're always on beer tier when we stop recording. Anyway, Evan, what did you think of Rock Spectacle?
I mean, I love it. The reason I picked it for this show was I have like a very music writer taste in albums, probably to my social detriment because like I have such a snobby taste in music. You guys joke about it, but like, but I was looking at the albums I like, and this is one that just doesn't get a ton of like critical love outside of people who already like Barenaked Ladies. And so I'm glad that, well, I don't know, you could have hated it overall.
Who knows? Stay tuned.
But I'm glad you all really seem to click with it. Yeah, I mean, I'd give it S tier, 10 out of 10. It's
Whoa.
easily in my top 10 albums of all time.
Wow.
I definitely
yeah.
understand
That's cool.
why for sure.
Yeah. Easily my favorite live album of all time, too.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, it is very like well produced for a live album, which is
sure.
really
Yeah.
like impressive. But I also enjoy this album. The musicality is very impressive. The vocal harmonies are great. Just honestly, the whole like atmosphere and vibe of this album is really cool too. Just hearing all like the crowd and how like into it they are, which is really impressive because this was pre 1 week. So it is very like cool to see like they still had a following back then.
It had not been.
Exactly. It was only 6 days, surprisingly. But I'd say I'd revisit it like after kind of like giving it some space, because after a while doing like constant re-listens, it kind of got a little old. But I'd give it like a same like 7.1 out of 10, solid B- tier. But yeah, fun album overall.
Hell yeah.
But that's not how the show works, guys. We have 2 albums this week. We got to get through Ben's album.
Yeah, oh my God. Wow, we are at least an hour and 20 deep in this already. So let's get to it.
We're really
Yes,
just
sir.
like bungling along, right?
Yeah.
Interesting you say that, Matt.
Yeah, funny that you say that. The next album is actually Mr. Bungle's self-titled album. I picked this with the intention of trying to follow up with a theme, and then after listening to both albums, I was like, wow, these couldn't be farther apart.
But I do think it shows how humor and rock music can go
That is
very
true.
differently.
Very
Yes.
different ways.
So I'll give a little info because I did write down some things. This album was released on August 13th, 1991 through Warner Brother Records. It was produced by John Zorn, which is pretty cool, who is he's an experimental saxophone player.
Oh, cool.
He actually worked with a lot of jazz bands and jazz groups in like the 70s and like
shit.
80s.
That's pretty sick.
It's funny, when I was reading up about him, just really quickly, like he definitely makes sense for producing this album, but it also was very odd because he's not usually producing
Bungle
bands
core.
like this. Yeah, bands like this. So I found that to be super interesting. And the reason why is because this album is primarily made up of like ska, circus music, heavy metal,
Funk.
free jazz,
Yeah.
funk, punk.
I mean, jazz
you know.
fusion.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if there are 3 genres to define this as, it would be, or at least like blanket umbrellas. It's like metal, rock, and
Jazz fusion.
jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I guess
A
ska.
little bit of circus in there.
And
Circus is a theme
it's
throughout
everything.
the whole
You
album.
can't
Yeah.
describe this with
You
3
really-
things. I
yeah,
don't know
you
why I
can't.
tried.
No, this album is a lot of things all in one. The members at the time consisted of Mike Patton, Trace Bruins, Trevor Dunn, and the only reason why I'm remembering those 3 off the top is because they're the 3 that are still in the band. Other members included Clinton McKinnon,
Danny Heifetz.
Danny Heifetz, and Theo Lengyel? I don't know. I never heard of that dude, so I was just like, cool. He was on it, I guess.
I'll put it in the description.
I've
sure.
never seen this band before in my life.
But the whole reason why this band is even a thing is because Mike Patton, which, by the way, is one of my favorite vocalists of all time. He is unfucking believable. Like, if you listen to his other projects, he's one of the most diverse vocalists
Even
in the
on
whole
here,
world.
you
Even
can
on
hear it,
here,
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He sounds super nasally and annoying, and that was so purposeful, I think. But he was riding his high with Faith No More because they just released their smash hit epic.
Faith some more.
Yeah, exactly. In 1989. So I think the whole reason Bungle even got signed to Warner Brothers was really because of his notoriety in Faith No More. Because Mr. Bungle was a band that formed in like 86, and they were strictly a thrash metal band in 86.
I see.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
it's very, very different than what they did. So when Warner Brother Records was like promoting this album, they were like, listen to Mike Patton's weird side project.
Well, I was gonna say the Easter Bunny tape is also why Patton got brought on to Faith No More, right?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, one of the reasons. Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
right,
he
yeah.
auditioned to be in the band. But the band Faith No More had heard of him because I think it was something like he was either at a show or I forget what it was, but somehow they like listened to his vocals and they're like, damn, he's pretty good. We should ask him to audition or whatever. And then he got the part. The album received very mixed reviews when it first came out.
So
With some saying, this is a masterpiece, and then others saying, what the
fuck is this?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sort of caught in the middle there, to be honest with you.
And to this day, it's considered a cult classic of albums
I can see
amongst a lot of fans. The only reason why I found it is because a lot of my favorite bands growing up were super influenced by
Yeah.
them, like Avenged Sevenfold, Korn, Dream Theater, like a bunch of bands that I
Little
listened
Ben
to.
liked.
Yeah, Little Ben loved, so that's how I found them. And I think they're comparable to like I think Oinga Boinga. I could compare them to, which is
Oinga Boinga.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey Charlie, you listen to that Oinga Boinga.
It's just another day.
Frank, I don't want to listen to Oinga Boinga.
We're living in a fool's paradise, Charlie.
But like I think that's a band that is like comparable.
Toned down a lot. Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
I think any band that you can try and compare to this, aside from maybe like Mothers of Invention,
Yeah.
is gonna be a little toned down from what
Yeah.
this is.
And then the last thing I'll say about the album is the artwork. A lot of people that found this band in like the 2000s they basically were like, oh, they just painted Danny DeVito. But like that's not
No,
it.
it's not.
It's an actual
It's
piece
from a
of
comic.
art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
from
hadn't heard that before.
Charlie,
Yeah.
you gotta squeeze my macaroni.
Charlie, somebody Mr. Bungle's calling me. They want to paint me, Charlie.
yeah, I forget what the piece is called. It's called
It's
like a
Beautiful Stories for Ugly Children.
yeah, but the actual art
Cotton
is
Candy
Cotton Candy
Autopsy.
Autopsy. Yeah, so not Danny DeVito, although it does
Unfortunately.
look like him kind of in a
Yeah.
clown form. So
The artwork also beautifully personifies the album.
yes,
Yeah.
beautifully. Yeah, I would agree. So, but yeah, with that, we could just dive right in.
Starting with quote unquote, or the other name it's known by, Travolta.
Yeah, which that's a funny story because I don't know how much background you guys know about this song. So it was called Travolta for the longest time, and then like basically right before they were supposed to release it, John Travolta's team, like legal team, actually said you are not allowed to name this because it basically like defaced John Travolta in a sense, which is stupid as
Yeah.
fuck because the whole song references so many John Travolta movies just like throughout.
And it's never really saying anything bad about John Travolta.
Right, so they called it quote unquote because that was the title of one of John Travolta's biographies.
Which is really funny because Travolta was in his prime flop era during
That
the
is
early
true.
90s.
Right.
He was ostensibly nobody. And then Quentin Tarantino was like, hey, I liked Welcome Back, Kotter. Do you want to be
over
in my
here."
movie?
And so just a quick summary for this song if you don't know what it's about.
Oh, it's about something.
The song is about a blind, deaf, limbless man
with his
who can-
mouth sewn shut.
with his mouth sewn shut, so he can only sense through his nose, therefore doing a lot of sniffable drugs.
Yeah. He gets tossed on a trampoline at some point.
I think that's a metaphor, but I honestly don't want it to be.
I was going to say, I didn't look up like really any of the lyrics because I went in with the assumption like, you know what? Ben will know.
Have you heard this album before, Evan?
So I had actually heard...
California?
I had heard California
Same.
Disco Volante.
Yeah.
I had tried listening to this one, and for a little bit while I was listening to it for this, I was like, maybe I have. But then it got to the end of Slowly Growing Deaf. I was like, oh, I didn't even get this far.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that part, but
Yeah.
you know what part I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'll just say my thoughts on this. I love this song with all my heart. Every time that glass breaks at 32
Yeah.
seconds, I get into like my hardcore mode and I'm ready to start beating the
Mosh.
shit out of people. I love this song so fucking much. It's probably my favorite song on the album. It's just monstrous. And hearing it live from videos is even better. It's so good. I love this song.
What I wrote about that glass at the beginning was just immediate panic.
Literally.
Yes.
For real. Like that fucking, like when you start it and like if there's like a little bit of silence, it's like that weird, like what even is that? Is that the sniffing? Is that the aforementioned sniffing that we're talking about?
Probably. I don't
Dude.
even know.
Dude, it was fucking like, I don't even know why. I was just getting like so anxious.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
something loud
it
was
builds
gonna
tension,
happen.
man.
Which I love that. That's such
I
a
did not.
purposeful thing. They wanted you
Yep.
to like be uncomfortable.
Be on
Because
edge.
Oh,
the
it
thing
works.
is, and the thing is, with most people, you listen to it and you get about 10 seconds and you're like, is my phone or computer broken?
Yeah,
Like, what's
yep.
going on? And so you start like skipping ahead a
Or
little bit,
turning up the
or
volume. Yeah.
turning up the volume, and then all of a sudden it hits you with the
Yeah.
it's like so I love it.
Yeah, it's like In the Flesh, but
Yep.
louder.
Yes.
And more
Abrupt.
anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also-
at least In the Flesh has like a little bit of
A
like
build up,
like a little bit of a
yeah.
build, yeah.
You know,
This is just ambient noise and then hell.
Then you're fucked.
like at least the THX intro has like the common decency
That's
to be like,
true. To
you know
build
what I
up
mean?
to it,
Yeah,
yeah.
this shit just like fucking slaps you in the face.
Before the fucking haunted circus chords come in and you're just in for it.
One thing I do want to say, the ending sounds like somebody like fucking a saxophone. Is that Mr. Zorn by any chance?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, the outro sounds like Earthbound music, and I really like that a lot.
I love how yours was like an actual thing and me was just my imagination. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, when I was listening to this song, I had never noticed the Grease reference before.
Yeah.
Which I was shocked by because I was like, this is so obvious. And what made it even worse was at first I was like, is this a reference to Fame? I was like, no, I'm an idiot. This is Grease.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll note about this song is I think one of the scariest moments of my childhood came from this song because when I first found the song and whatever, I heard there was a music video for it. And a little backstory on the music video is that MTV was like, oh, Mr. Bungle, this cool, weird band. Like
Mike Patton.
Yeah. Like they have a music video. We're going to play it on MTV. They played it once and never played it again.
Wow.
Because they were like, this is ungodly disturbing.
What
Like,
happens? Are you not allowed to
Find
say?
out for yourself, listeners.
I see.
It's just I would just watch it yourself. It's
Okay.
just disturbing. But the fucking scariest part about it wasn't even the content itself, because obviously that was unsettling. It was when I was watching it. So I was the ripe age of 13 maybe when I watched it. There was
the ripest of ages.
the ripest of ages. There was one posted video of the music video at the time, and it was labeled at like 4 minutes and maybe 30 seconds, which the song is captured it at 6 minutes.
Yes, longer.
Like it's longer because of that extended outro.
Yeah.
So the music video was supposed to end after the Travolta.
Yeah.
And then it does the little musical outro, but it fades out quickly. When I watched the video, I shit you not, the video ended at like 4:30 something, but the music just kept going.
Oh.
It was fucking creepy as shit. And I hated it and loved it at the same time. But literally, it showed like recommended videos, like click here to watch the next video, or like
the music
replay.
kept
But the
going.
music
Yeah.
kept going. And I was like, this is so fucking unreal. This is so fucking bizarre. I love this band.
I'm a bungler.
Yeah.
I'm a bungler.
All right, moving on. We have Slowly Growing Deaf. This guitar intro, for some strange reason, reminds me of Rose Colored Boy by Paramore. It's just a very weird thing that just like clicked in my brain. And then it sounds nothing like that
Yeah,
after.
my first thought when the song kicks in, I was like, lounge,
Yep.
ska, and then it switches to what sounds. These are two weird bands to compare. I mean, the riff, quote unquote, no pun intended, main riff of the song sounds like somewhere between like a Misfits and an Avenged riff.
Yeah, I makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah, I was gonna say the song is I don't know if you guys know, but the song is actually part 1 of 3 parts.
I heard, yeah.
And the 2 other parts appear on their second album, Disco Volante, on the songs Carry Stress in the Jaws Part 2, which another fantastic song. And then Phlegmatics is part 3 technically.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have connected this to the third one. I probably could have connected this to Carry Stress in the Jaw.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not even sure why it's in 3 parts, because I'm pretty sure the bass player Trevor wrote this song. I don't know if he wrote all 3 parts at once and then they just ended up splitting them, but they do sonically sound different from one another. So I'm not sure if that was like a afterthought of like, oh, like
We can connect this.
we could connect this, so let's just make it, because all 3 parts is titled Sleep, which I didn't know until actually doing a little bit of research, and I was like, oh, like I knew they were in parts, but I didn't know they were called something.
And they
Sleep Suite.
And they do not sound anything like the band Sleep.
Right, exactly. And in
The
case you're
exact
wondering,
opposite metal vibe is Sleep. Actually.
and in case you're wondering what the song's about, oh, by the way, all the songs' themes are relatively the same. Quote unquote's kind of the one that's not.
The outlier.
Yeah, like this song is basically just about the desensitization of
Society,
life.
yeah.
Society, life, but in a very nihilistic viewpoint.
Okay.
And edgy, immature.
Yeah, exactly. Personally, I this song's fine. I like this song, but this song and the next song are kind of low points for me.
That's fair.
I like
Yeah.
them, but they're not like great. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel like there's an elephant in the room with this song, which is its outro.
Yeah, the outro.
yeah,
Is it the one where the guy's like,
Taking a shit.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think my biggest challenge with this album is there were parts where I could really click with it, especially towards the back half.
Yeah.
But there's this attitude, and it really applies here, but to a lot of Bungle stuff where it's like, let's be as in your face as possible. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it just
Falls very flat.
It feels like it's too much. I mean, the one thing that's really stuck with me about them was, what's the performance from the California tour where they're in, like, I think it's Germany. It's like Oddfest or something.
Bizarre Fest.
Bizarre Fest, thank you.
One of the best live performances ever.
It's
by
a
the
great
way.
performance, but they're like, we don't see anyone else bizarre here. And that I'm kind of mixed about that attitude. Like, I like artistically going as much as possible, but that sort of like fronting thing, which kind of seeps into the music. That kind of colors my taste. More of this one. Ironically, the album they were touring there, I think, is amazing.
Yeah, California's very good.
And is way less in your face.
Yes, it's a lot toned down, which is very nice.
But I think that was my biggest struggle on here, alongside, it's too long. Everything on this album is too long.
Yeah, a lot of stuff just overstays its welcome.
Especially like the one that's 12 minutes.
There's 2 10-minute
I was
tracks.
gonna say there's 2.
Are you sure there's not a 12-minute one?
No, that's Court of the Crimson King.
You're right.
The episode we're recording next.
My bad.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's a song should have gone on this album. I think if you, and I was kind of mentioning this to you before we recorded here, I think if you went like just past the 3/4 mark on all these songs, and then cut it off, cutting off the end of the song and the interludes.
Yeah, and all like the sketches that happen like at the end too.
Yeah. If you cut all that out, you got like a 50-minute album. You know? It's unnecessary. I honestly, I would not be surprised if the only reason that they did that was to be annoying, because that just seems like something they would do as a band. But I don't know. There are some outros or interludes that I found not fitting, but just like funny in like a, wow, this is so different than what they were talking about. Like some of the video game samples that they use.
They sample Mario in one of these songs. Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, it's pretty funny. And then plus I like when they quoted the television show about, do you know who that is? That's Mr. Bungle. Like that whole thing, I thought those are good. Even though that was probably one of the longer ones too, I actually thought that fit the most out of all of them. But yeah,
I think one thing that, like, especially on this track, that I kind of find that I have trouble with is that it sounds like they're trying to play like 4 different songs like all in one for like a bunch of these tracks, which, I mean, stylistically that's very impressive. The fact that they can work as such like a well-oiled machine and like, you know, pull that
switch
off.
on like that, it's like switch the style like instantaneously. It's very impressive.
There's only like one song on here that like is kind of consistent in terms of like the rhythm and like the overall like sound all the way through. It's a pretty good track. I just hate what it's written about.
I think I know which one you're talking about. And it's my favorite track on the album.
I think I do too.
It's
because
like it's like my least favorite and my favorite at the same time.
But in the brief amount of like research I did for this, there was a quote I saw online, which maybe you've heard before, which is, if you don't like a Mr. Bungle song, wait 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the style.
Probably.
And sometimes that gets a lot, but when it works, I think it works. And again, the weird thing about critiquing this is I also have the other 2 albums in mind, and a lot of my problems with this album I already know get fixed with Disco Volante in California. So,
and it is funny because, and I think you and I were talking about this album, as much as I personally love it, I would say as of right now it's my least favorite of the 3 of their Warner Brothers albums. But I do still love it. But yeah, if we want to move on to the next song, because I know we're kind of pressed for time. Squeeze Me Macaroni.
This song is fucking goofy as fuck.
It is.
Oh my god.
It is probably the
wild.
goofiest song.
Yeah.
I've never heard Betty Crocker, Ronald McDonald, and Colonel Sanders all get fucked.
Yes, they are freaky as hell.
Metaphor.
Ronald McDonald likes to get fondled.
Literally.
The flow that Patton has on this song is just insane. How
It's
he's able to
ridiculous.
say all this shit in like that span of time. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Bro, let me just say though, the bass fucking rips so
bass is
hard in
great.
this song.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh my god.
That's one thing about this whole album. Their bass player, Trevor Dunn, is
Yeah.
so underrated. Like, I never hear people talk about him. Well, he's in Mr. Bungle, so I guess it makes sense. But I think he is so underrated. He's so damn good.
the bass on this is incredible.
Yeah.
For sure.
And yeah, this is not related to that. Just when the horns came in, I was like, oh, it's the SNL thing.
Literally.
I do see what you mean.
And the
Yeah.
other thing was, as AJ knows, as a huge David Lynch fan myself,
Exactly.
I heard the
Blue Velvet
keeps
samples.
bringing up Blue Velvet,
Yeah.
which, like, don't get me wrong, great movie. I don't really want to be reminded of Blue Velvet when I'm not watching Blue Velvet. It is a very dark movie, and they don't just
Makes
quote the
sense,
funny
though.
parts. Or not even quote. They sample one of the parts where Kyle MacLachlan's character is like sobbing.
Yeah.
But
It's
also,
bad.
But also, they do include "I Hate Warm Beer,"
Makes me vomit.
Which is Dennis Hopper in that movie is.
A whole other podcast.
Yeah, really, I should not get into talking about Blue Velvet.
The guitar solo is also pretty fucking awesome.
It is very
I gotta
good.
say. Like I was very impressed. Like the musicality of this whole album is just is incredible.
Dude, those horns are fucking awesome. Like whenever they come in, I'm always like hooked. I love it.
It's just every single time I get used to like a part, it just kind of like switches.
Switch,
but I feel like
yeah.
it's also the style. You know what I mean?
I feel like
Sure.
there
Like,
are some like switches that work really well, and like sometimes like even the genres complement each other. Like funk and metal like go together very well. But like some of them are like pretty hit or miss.
There are sections that I'm just like, oh, this fucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every single jazz section, I just love.
I 100%
It works
agree.
like so well. And the grunge section in this one is like fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased because I love metal and hard rock and all that, but every heavy section I'm instantly keyed into. It makes sense why "quote unquote" is like my favorite track on this album. I did want to quote a line, which is the first maybe 3 seconds. I want to lock Betty Crocker in the kitchen and knock her upper during supper, clutter her butter gutter, said, "Is this ding dong wrapped in egg roll around my wong?" If those lyrics
Eminem has left the building.
if those lyrics don't set you up for the rest of this damn song, then I don't know what will. Yeah, like this. To be honest, I never knew the lyrics of this song until I actually decided to look them up for this, and I was like, throughout the whole album, I was like, wow,
Sperm scrambles the egg and a meal is born.
Yeah,
that shit's crazy.
It's just I don't know.
I can imagine Dylan singing that.
Dylan? Bob Dylan.
As in Bob, not
Gotcha.
Dylan Thomas.
Sperm scrambles an egg and a meal is born.
Yeah, see?
At the very end, he's just like, get those tits out, bitch. You know what I mean? Like,
He would say that.
those boots of Spanish leather. Yeah. That's a
Anyway.
great song by Bob Dylan.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
Should I move on to this next track?
Sure.
All right, so I find this very interesting because there's another album we covered on the show that has a song called Carousel that's also the 4th track, and it's my least favorite album we covered on the show, and that's Cry Baby by Melanie Martinez.
Oh, shit. I forgot that that's a track on that album.
Yeah,
God, would you say it's the most track 4 song you've ever heard?
it's better than anything on Cry Babies.
Sorry, Elizabeth.
Sorry, Elizabeth.
I thought you would have hated Skrillex more.
I think they're in the
that's his
same-
conversation for a different day. Yeah.
I feel like they're almost in the same place for AJ.
I've Skrillex I've more accepted as a genre I don't really understand. Melanie Martinez I just hate on principle.
That's true. That's fair.
So anyway, Carousel.
Yeah, this song is. I don't know exactly what it's about, to be honest, but if I were to take a stab, it just sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah,
But
I guess.
at a circus where everything
It's like the most circusy song on the album.
very
Yeah.
much so, but it just sounds like a twisted nightmare at a circus. Essentially,
I think that is actually what it was going for, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, if you take a look at the lyrics, it talks about all these different things you'd find at a circus, and then it makes them really dark.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the whole thing.
There's a whole section about throwing up.
Literally,
That was fun.
Yeah.
And they play the hash pipe riff for some reason.
God, it's weird. Like in the beginning, something in me struck me like, wait, this kind of sounds like Roundabout, just like a little bit.
Like with the bass.
I guess. Like
I
don't know.
with the acoustic guitar.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, there is guitar work in here that reminds me of Stephen Howe.
Like
What
in the
oh,
beginning.
sorry.
My bad.
In the beginning, hey, that's another prog rock. Genesis.
Oh, that's so cool.
Whoa, we're nerds. Anyway, no, I was going to say there's an album I've been listening to a lot recently, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce the real name of it. It's called Corner Club, but it's in Brazilian Portuguese. I'm not even going to try. But it initially reminded me of that. I was like, oh, this is cool. Oh, rest of the song. But honestly, this was one of 2 of my favorite tracks on here.
Interesting.
For some reason, I didn't dig a lot of the circus stuff, but I guess it being turned up to like 11 on here really helped. The other thing was and this really got me. There's the video game samples, which we can also talk about.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only album I've ever heard sample pinball machines.
Oh shit.
Yeah, which, as AJ knows,
Mm-hmm.
one of my many special interests
Is pinball.
is pinball. And so, yeah, I think they sample stuff from Cyclone. There's a pinball machine that's based off of a roller coaster, and then Whirlwind and Earthshaker.
Oh shit.
Which I forget. I forget which song opens, but there's a song that opens and you hear the vocal sample of Earthshaker at the beginning.
Whoa. That's actually cool as fuck.
Yeah, but it was weird for me listening to it because I love sample-based music, partially for
Avalanches.
that. Yeah, Avalanche. I mean, there's probably like an entire genre of, plunderphonics, really.
Yeah.
That I just am in love with. And a lot of that is also me listening and being like, ooh, can I pick this out? And usually it's just music or movies in the case of Blue Velvet on this album. But I heard those pinball sound effects and
Triggered.
It wasn't, well, like I have played those machines so many times and it's weird to hear that out of context of playing
arcade,
that I just like, I was just walking around my house with my headphones on, but I like stopped in my tracks. I was like, was that
Yeah.
was that the high score sound effect
From Cyclone?
from Whirlwind? Yeah. And then funny enough, I was like, I wonder if they sampled Funhouse, which is like a circus themed pinball machine. It released 2 months after this album came out.
Damn.
Wow.
It would have been the perfect
match.
It would have been the perfect thing.
Yeah, I one of the lyrics that I never knew until I looked at them, and then I had to listen back a couple times, and I was like, wow, that's really funny how self-aware they were, because it's the only line that has nothing to do with the song is, will Warner Brothers put our record on the shelf? They're so self-aware because they know that this is so
way
out there.
Yeah.
The original line, well, funny enough, when it was released in the booklets and all that, that wasn't the line that was written. I forget what it was, but it had nothing to do with the song either. The original line, and I guess people heard this from like demos or whatever, was supposed to be, into the House of Mirrors goes a clown and his elf. So the fact that they changed it to, will Warner Brothers like allow to put this on their show? Like, it's just funny because it's like they're self-aware. They know that this is like a shit storm that no one's ready for.
Did you read about the static disc they almost sent in for mastering?
No.
I forget if it was the bassist or Patton, but one of them was like, yeah, we were going to send in a CDR just of static noise to see
how they would react.
If it would go through.
That's
because
funny.
their theory was that like they were on like the payroll and whatever at Warner Brothers, but none of the executives gave a shit.
Okay.
So they were just like, I wonder. And they were like, you know what? They're not even going to find it funny. They're probably just not going to even plug it in and be like, let's just...
And it actually would go out to the world, yeah.
But thankfully they didn't do that because people would have been like, whoa, a new album. This is really experimental. I don't even hear notes.
Like the Metal Machine music of the 90s.
It would have just created like a whole new genre.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you listen to Static? Like, holy shit.
Mr. Bungle pioneered static.
I love Mr. Bungle.
All right, moving on. We have Egg. This is the first 10-minute song on the album. Is this also kind of like the most like ska-ish?
Yeah. I would
Scottish.
say so.
When you have that fun egg break where everything's just on the upbeat.
Yeah.
The egg crack, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the song is just about life being really meaningless while using metaphors of birth and death. But just painting it in a grotesque image.
Yeah, a lot of egg talk.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a lyric about boiling a frog, which is very upsetting.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
I actually really like this song. I don't care for the extended outro.
Yeah,
but
the music concrete.
I love the
Yeah.
actual, the core music element of this song is really fucking good. I love the part where they just literally reverse the verse.
Yeah.
Just for like the whole verse, and then they go into the egg. Yeah, literally.
There were some really good moments on this for me. I loved the Altered Beast sample, The Rise from Your Grave, which is from the video game Altered Beast.
Oh, of course.
The original pack-in title for the Sega Genesis until they put Sonic the Hedgehog in instead.
I see. This is
But,
also the song
yeah.
samples Mario at the very
Yeah.
end.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the one that samples
Yeah,
it.
It's the level
and then
clear.
also there's this guitar part in the middle that it slows down and it's this like grungy thing, and I swear it sounds like somebody failing to play Yellow Ledbetter. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like Yellow by Coldplay?
No, Yellow Ledbetter by Pearl Jam.
Oh, no.
just
Oh,
this-
the song where it's like you can't understand a single fucking thing Eddie Vedder said. Oh wait, that's
That's
the
every
whole
Pearl Jam
discography.
song.
Sorry,
no, but there.
I love Pearl
Go
Jam.
back and listen to it. There's a part where it just and then it
Yeah.
goes back to the real thing. And trains.
Evan
There are
loves
trains. Evan does love trains. Yeah.
One of his other special interests.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One thing I just want to say, his voice is like so versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like it's insane.
Like just like how much range he's able to show, and like the drop of a dime is
Yeah.
fucking incredible.
Nah, it's like
Yeah.
crazy how like in control of his voice he is in terms of like
Sorry, if you had a thought, I'd keep you on.
no, just it's just crazy how like good his voice is able to just flip.
Yeah, that just like
on a
reminded me
dime. Yeah,
of something. Have you ever heard his solo album, Adult Theme for Voice?
his solo album.
Yeah, Mike Patton.
Not in full. I've heard a couple songs,
Okay.
but not in full.
I was just curious because it's just like his voice has like the entire gimmick of the album, just doing like sound effects and like weird noises and
yeah.
stuff.
Well, that's his thing. I don't know if. Do you guys know the hit movie I Am Legend with Will Smith?
Of course, yeah.
So fun fact: all the monster noises are him.
Oh shit! I remember hearing that. Yes,
fucking way.
Yeah.
Actually,
He does all the monster voices.
that's awesome.
In both the real and alternate ending.
Yeah, the thing about Mike Patton's voice that it made sense when I read about this, but it was still just so wow. I think the world record for the biggest vocal range, I think, is 10 octaves or something like that. Most humans can do 4, I think was the number, whatever. Mike Patton can do 8.
Oh shit!
His range
damn.
is fucking ridiculous. I don't know, man. He's the kind of vocalist that like I'm like I want to be like that, and then I just know no,
I
I
can't.
can't. It's physically impossible.
Singing is hard because there's that part of it that is just your vocal cords aren't
Yeah.
this exact diameter.
Exactly.
You get to sing 1 octave in key.
yeah, exactly. He was fucking gifted, dude. Seriously.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Anyway,
Damn.
Stubb a Dub is the next song. This
Oh.
one's really sad.
I
My
love
other favorite on this
song.
album.
This is like if I would put this up like neck and neck with quote unquote. Like
Interesting.
I know I say quote unquote it's my favorite song, but every time this song comes on, I'm like, fuck, dude, this is so damn good.
I know it starts with that really like creepy 3/4 waltz with the family.
Family.
Yeah.
Family.
That's the best one.
and then later down the line, it's like memory.
Yeah, literally. The
Memory.
song is quite simply about Trey, the guitarist's dog dying.
It's really sad.
Yeah, it is really sad.
Um,
There is.
I
yeah.
love this. I have nothing to say except I love this song.
This is honestly the only song I was able to key into the lyrics with.
Yeah, same.
On
yeah.
an active listening
Mhm.
because I mean, there were other like glimpses of lyrics I kind of got, but I didn't look up. I didn't have the liner notes in front of me. I didn't want to look up on Genius or anything. I was just like, like that's kind of the experience I want to go in with it. But this one, it's also very obvious that it's like, oh, this is about a
Dying
beloved
pet.
dog dying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
then
and the funny thing is, even though it is directly about the guitarist's dog dying, they still manage to put it into a theme of like
They
life
make it
is
darker.
life
Humor,
is like
yeah.
meaningless, kind of like.
It's like, yeah, we treat the dog like a family, but it's a dog.
but it's
Yeah.
a dog. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so it's almost sadistic in a way, but
Yeah.
it's really fucking.
Do you
good.
think about me when you're peeing? Like lyrics like that. They're so like biting. Yeah.
It's really impressive on an album like this that something can get your head turning after like
Yeah.
the first 10 minutes, but that was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Also, I thought it was impressive. There's like a part in the middle with the organ and like the guitar where they basically emulate like Eurobeat with rock instruments. The dun dun dun
Oh,
dun
one,
dun dun
and- yeah, that's a
dun,
highlight.
dun, dun. I was like, how are they doing this?
Mhm. It's really
Um,
cool.
Yeah. And then also, I think it would have been interesting if they ended the album with this instead of Dead Goon, because there's that really good callback to almost the motif from quote unquote.
Yeah. No, I
And
agree.
we'll get into it later, but I don't think Dead Goon is a great closer.
It is funny though. I listening, and I'll get there when I get there. But yeah, I have a couple things about Dead Goon because I agree it's not one of my favorites, but I do like some aspects.
I
of
agree. Anything else about Stubb a Dub?
There's like this one part that has like Scooby-Doo-esque chase music that I really enjoyed.
I love that part. Oh my god,
it was kind of dope. Not gonna lie.
It's really crazy how Mr. Bungle can do Ghost better than Ghost. That's more of a joke. I haven't listened to a ton of Ghost. Don't come. Oh god, they're coming after me.
All right, and we're back.
That was a full boulder they threw in the window.
That happens a lot, man. We're actually, our studio's on the side of a cliff, so it's quite common here.
Where the
But
fuck
it
is
fell
Kyle
up.
when you need him?
Well, he's still with us in here.
In your hearts.
Exactly. And in the walls.
Fucking Kyle.
His ashes are in the walls.
I miss his slimy hands.
And that sweet, sultry voice.
But he looks so young.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so anyway.
The next one is My Ass is on Fire. This one's...
It's not funny though.
You're right, Evan, it's not funny.
It's not funny.
Because this song is kind of lame.
Fucking laugh. For the love of God and all that is holy, my ass is on fire.
To be honest,
Very top
I
tier.
have no idea what this song is about. If
don't think
it's
there's
about
any deeper
anything,
meaning.
I really
Yeah.
don't think.
thought it
there's
was a-
I think I know
anything.
what it's about.
His ass
Enlighten
being
us,
on fire?
Matt.
I think it says in the title. Like
I think you're absolutely right.
I mean, like,
Yeah, I genuinely I tried looking up someone with an opinion, and no one had a good enough one to make me be like, yeah, that makes sense. So I just literally
They're like,
wrote
yep,
my notes.
track 7.
I just wrote in my notes. I have no idea what the song is about, but I fucking love it.
I feel like honestly, if you're like my ass is on fire, meaning it's gonna be like, ooh, gonorrhea. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I
Google
mean?
says.
The desensitization of society and their poor treatment of STDs, honestly, is really what the song's about.
Like it's WebMD that's just gonna be replying to you. There's no like G's.
Literally. Yeah, I just love it.
Yeah,
That's all I
musically
have.
it's cool, but there's really like nothing else like for me. Like lyrically, it's like, oh haha.
Yeah.
I had this weird thought during this song where I was like, if Mr. Bungle positioned themselves as like a post-punk band now, this album would fit in like very well with what's
Actually, yes.
like.
Yeah.
I kept thinking about Black Midi during this entire album.
You know, now that you mention it,
Yeah.
yeah, like very much so.
Yeah, I mean that, and I kind of had to translate that because I wrote down best post-metal album ever, and I know what I mean by that. But
We have to clarify.
there was
yeah.
a lot of this where it was stream of consciousness. So I'm looking back at it
Hey,
now.
same thing on this album and Black Midi.
It was the fact that you said that this is the 7th track. I was like, it can't be. Oh my god,
It is. Yeah.
because it feels like this should be like the 10th track.
I know.
Like.
This album is very bloated, which is on with
It's
Butch.
long.
Yeah.
They had a full 750 megabytes on a disc and went, let's use it.
Every single bit. Yeah.
Anything else about My Ass is on Fire?
There's like one section
hurts.
where I legit was just like, this is wrecking my ears.
Just like his ass got wrecked by that fire.
Exactly.
Or the gonorrhea.
Or the gonorrhea.
Or the
true.
gonorrhea.
Your
Up to-
interpretation. yeah.
Exactly.
You pick your poison.
I will say the ending skit transition I really like a lot. They just sample a porno
Yeah.
and
It
lead
goes straight into.
to my favorite song on the album, "Girls of Porn."
Is it like an actual like porno that they
Yeah.
sit for real?
Probably, yeah.
I saw on Genius there was like a link to it.
I thought it was just like
Did you watch it? Was it good?
Hey, could you send me the link by the way?
Just for research purposes,
yeah,
I
yeah,
promise.
It wasn't like the actual like link to like the porn. It was like a clip on YouTube that was like "Girls of Porn" sample.
Got it.
Yeah.
Whew, caught one there.
I did do further research. That's just irrelevant.
It's funny that you say this is your favorite song because I never cared for this song until listening back to this
Yeah.
album for this, and I was like, "Damn, the music
Yes,
on
it's
this,
so good.
it is
Yeah.
literally quintessential '70s porno
funk,
movie.
Yeah. Bum-ba-na-na.
It's so
I
fucking
love it.
like I think of what's the movie?
Superfly?
super bad.
No.
Sorry, wait. Superfly's Missy Elliott.
No, with Mark Wahlberg, young
The other guys?
young Mark Wahlberg and
Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
It's a perfect song to put in Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in my
I was
opinion.
so far away from that. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
you were.
I was gonna be like Daddy's Home too, or like
I was thinking quintessential porn music.
Yeah, like it fits so well. I don't need to explain the lyrics.
They're rough.
They are.
I wrote one down.
I also did.
They are quite I
And now
was
the
gonna
FBI
write.
knows your location.
To be honest, I was gonna write the lyrics down. I was like,
They're so raunchy.
they get what the lyrics are. I don't have to explain this.
This is one of those moments on the album where I feel like they're kind of like fuck you to their audience.
Yeah.
I think it kind of works in the fact that if I was going to pick a song on this album musically that would fit on radio, it would be this one.
Yeah,
And you could not, in any conceivable universe,
actually
play
go
this
through
over
with
the
it.
radio.
Yeah.
No.
And it's funny because this and Love is a Fist are the two most contemporary sounding songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, much agreed.
Maybe Love is a Fist more so, but those are the two where I was like, okay, thinking about what was going on in metal in 90, which is not really known as a great point for metal.
Yeah, I mean, you think.
I
what is
think
going
like
on?
Warrant
Maybe-
and Winger.
Yeah, and Pantera is starting. Like,
Yeah, but it's
Cowboys
like-
from Hell comes out a year later than this album.
I think
something
of
like that?
Pantera at that point, and I think of the bad cover with like the hand-drawn red ghoul.
I think of Dragon Ball
Yeah.
Broly.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not about Pantera, and I'm glad it is not.
There is one lyric that has a very funny genius lyrics Easter egg I found.
That's not a porn link.
No, unfortunately. But what
AJ's actually going to speak the entire porn link. It's going to be like
HTTP. Anyway,
Just in case you need to look it up.
exactly. But the lyric, my hand gets tired and my dick gets sore. There's like a button you can push on there. When you click it, it's just a picture of this dude looking at his AirPod that's on fire.
You know what? It's really good that I was listening to this album with Sennheiser headphones.
Yes.
Because that's a real problem.
I know. It's
When
an
you-
epidemic.
When you listen to this through AirPods, the right one just catches on fire
Yes.
when he
On
says
that lyric.
Gotta sue Steve Jobs.
Or Mike Bungle.
Like,
Mike Bungle.
Matt, what'd you think about Girls of Porn?
AJ.
They're beautiful.
Let me tell you. AJ, let me just tell you. We need to do a whole other episode on that question. Should I say the lyric that I wrote down?
Go for it.
Go for it.
Listen, I like alliteration, okay? You got the gushing gonads, you got the tingling tushies, the hairy ball. Oh, well, okay. I guess alliteration kind of fails here, but it's okay. It's HB. So
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Hairy balls and hairy bushies. If you're wondering, ladies and gentlemen.
Girls that eat your pee and poo.
I guess that was kind of a lie earlier when I said that Stubb was the only one that I clicked into the lyrics with, because it's a bit hard to ignore.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
no,
So
yeah.
very
This one,
upfront.
He's not doing the flow thing. He's just kind of
Rambling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so like
Lord.
uncomfortably direct.
Oh,
Like,
yes. Yes.
he was
Exactly.
born a rambling man.
And he shouldn't have been.
Oh man.
Next up, we have Love is a Fist.
Why does this open with a math rock riff?
Yeah, literally.
It's not. It just
Is
I just heard that. I was like, oh,
American football.
Shit, never meant.
Yeah, to be honest, either this or Squeeze Me Macaroni are one of my least favorite songs. I didn't care for this song, especially considering it's about domestic violence.
Yeah, that part's pretty rough.
And it's not
Yeah.
about domestic violence in like the sense of it's wrong. It's literally in the perspective of the abuser, just
Yeah.
like, oh God, I love violence, and it's because I love you, basically. And it's like, doesn't hold up today. Like they
No.
might have thought it was funny, but
Or
like,
just trying to be edgy for the time.
yeah, for the time, which like
I don't
know.
think that's impossible to pull off. I think Polly pulls it off, and that was a year after this. But that's a very different vibe. They keep it
Yeah.
low key so that like the lyrics of that are very raw. And also, I mean, it was pretty well known that Cobain was not on the side of the main character in Polly.
Right. This is one of those things where I'm imagining them just like, ha ha ha, this is funny. You know, and it's like,
that's basically it. Yeah.
yeah, it just is, it's violent. Although this is the most straightforward punk song, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not as many switches, just
Yeah,
purely.
it's just, yeah.
And it's the one with the puppet show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, the puppet show is basically like explaining how Mr. Bungle is like a bad egg because he cuts in line. But I gotta say, Mr. Bungle, he gets to cut in line to get his lunch first, and he gets to fuck his campaign manager, and I'm just saying it's not fair.
Listen, we all just want to bungle, okay?
We're just bungling boys out here.
Look at us, the bungling boy.
Now the garbungle, the garbungle.
Now, if anyone out there would care to watch the actual Mr. Bungle short, don't worry, you don't need to watch it alone. Doug Walker and Rob Walker did commentary on it.
So we're watching that.
So, yes.
Yeah.
I believe it was like a DVD bonus or something.
Are you talking about the Nostalgia Critic?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I am.
We're big into making fun of the Nostalgia Critic.
That just like clicked out of no. I was like, wait, why the fuck do I know those names? They're either serial killers or somebody famous. I was like,
Actually, Doug Walker is
not far off.
I was like, wait a second.
We met him.
We did. Me and Evan did meet the Nostalgia. I told you about this.
I don't remember this whatsoever.
I'll tell you
This
later.
was one of the most important days of my life.
He met his hero.
Not actually because of, well, partially because of that. It was just a very weird day.
It was.
And then I proceeded to hop in my car and put on Crying of Lot 49.
A very Evan thing to do.
I didn't know if I was going to bring this up, but I will
shit.
now. I was listening to this album and I went, you know what? What are the chances? Yeah, people have compared Mr. Bungle to Thomas Pynchon.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can see
I'm
that.
not surprised. You and your damn Thomas Pynchon.
Evan loves Thomas Pynchon.
I found a
Beloved
thread-
recluse author Thomas Pynchon.
I see. Okay.
Don't get Evan started, please.
Nah, yeah, don't worry, I won't. No, but
That's what he says, and then he does.
no, but I found a thread where someone was like, Disco Volante is the Gravity's Rainbow of albums.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
As someone who has read
As someone who has read it front to back 5 times, yeah,
all 760 pages.
literally.
Yeah,
No,
it's a
I
big
wouldn't
book.
know.
I get it literally because it's literature.
Anyway, this last track is called Dead Goon.
Thank you.
And it's very dark, very
It's-
morbid.
It's another, not quite sexual, although it definitely is related
it's about an
to sexual.
asphyxiophile.
Yeah, it's about choking yourself for pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole point is that the narrator goes too far and kills himself accidentally.
And you hear it, and it's creepy.
It's creepy.
yeah,
yeah.
It's creepy and
But-
creaky, right? Like it's
Yeah.
because it's like a swaying kind
Yeah,
of
you hear
thing.
like
yeah.
pan the channels too.
Yeah, it was scary.
Mhm.
Yeah. Another song that I didn't care for before, and then re-listening to this album, I was like, fuck, this
Yeah,
song
it's
is
cool.
really fucking good. The reason, so going back to what you were saying about Stubb and how you're like, man, I wish this closed the album. The reason why I really like Dead Goon as the end is because that is the closest thing to what they do on Disco Volante.
Oh, shit.
And it is a very, like, I remember listening to Dead Goon in my car and I was like, fuck, I didn't realize how much you could transition this straight into Disco Volante and it's seamless. So that's why I really love this as the closing song, because this gives you the most insight of what you're
They're
gonna
gonna
hear
go.
4
That's
years
cool.
later. Yeah, so this is a song that I like. It's not my favorite, but I do
You grew
really
an
like it.
appreciation
I
in it,
grew
yeah.
a big appreciation of it.
I mean, it is cool. The studio imagery is like very impressive and creepy. They definitely hit the tone that they want to hit.
yeah.
And like the musical switches are cool as always. It has the sinister circus vibe.
Yep.
It's
That does not go away.
classic Bungle.
Classic Bungle, just bungling around in the Bungle Boys.
He loves the
house.
bungling with those boys. You know?
Yeah.
Getting ready for Bungle to Bungle. I've had that one cooking for like an hour. Anyway, so this track is interesting.
Standing ovation.
down.
Whoa.
I appreciate the effort. Thank you, Matt.
Anytime. I would say that some part of it kind of reminded me of like A Day in the Life by the Beatles.
Oh,
Just like a tad.
Okay, I actually can see that. I've never compared it like that, but I
Now that you say
totally
it.
know what you mean.
So when I got to the end of this track, I didn't think that. I was like, why is this like the Caretaker track
oh
all
shit.
of a sudden? Because the last like minute and a half of this,
Yeah.
it's just hauntology. I was like, what? Oh, it's over.
Yeah.
But the thing with that was the first listen I had to this album, I got to this song and it's so long and I just
Yeah.
couldn't. I was just like, I'm done. I mean, I kept listening to it, obviously, but I was like, this is too much. Second listen, where I took a break in the middle, it was far more palatable.
Mm.
Yeah.
I still don't love it, but I was more like, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because first listen, I was so like exhausted by the album.
Hey!
I was
Yeah,
just
that
like,
shit,
oh,
yeah.
I'm done. This album has killed me. Killed by Bungle.
Yeah.
The worst way to go.
I mean, I
Or the
think
best.
that is an accomplishment on their part. I don't think that's what they were aiming to do, but my God, if that wasn't like a victory for them,
Yeah,
like
if they made like someone just kind of be like swear off Bungle, they're like, yes.
yeah, like that and it just seems like their personalities, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they just seem like their whole mindset is such a like punk rock, like we don't give a shit about
Mm-hmm.
you if you don't like us, whatever, fuck off. But they like take it to
The extreme.
literally the
Yeah.
extreme, yeah. And I love this band.
Well, that brings us to our final thoughts. Matt, what did you think of Mr. Bungle by Mr. Bungle?
So I'd say for the most part, like one thing I really appreciated about this record is that it's mixed like so well.
Yes.
And the production of this entire thing is insane. One thing I have to say is, God, that poor drummer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many like switches just on the fly. But it's weird. Like even though it's all like it's pretty put together in like each section, it's almost like the way that it's just so like abruptly like goes into something else. It's almost like avant-garde-ish, if that makes sense.
Very much, yeah.
I think I read somewhere that they kind of are considered to be that in some of their like musical works. But anyway,
Definitely disco.
Disco. I was
Yeah.
gonna say their second
Disco.
album is definitely under that
Search for
avant-garde kind
techno a lot.
of- yeah.
I very much appreciate the work that went into this album, but I have to say it is really not for me
Fair.
whatsoever. But I had to appreciate like the hard work that was probably put into it. So I would say amidst all the chaos, I put this in terms of like effort, like that's what I'm grading it on, and I would say B-, honestly. Like
Nice.
I think they really should be maybe not proud. Proud is too redeeming of a word for this.
Singular pat on the back.
By Mike Patton.
Yes.
Thumbs,
God, I'm so funny.
2 thumbs sideways. No, but I would say like B- minimum, and then I'd say like a 7.3 out of 10.
Cool.
So on the one hand, I mean, I mentioned this, it like really doesn't give you any room to breathe. And also the songs are ungodly long. But both of those problems are fixed by later albums. So I'm not going to say they're minimized on here. But also because this was in the 90s, I don't feel like the criticism is,
Yeah.
matters that much directly to them anyway. But it also is kind of good to know that I can just view this as its own thing. And there are works by them I enjoy more. The thing that this album does that I don't think the others do as well is for this coming out in 90, I think you could probably go through and see every subgenre of rock that became popular in the next decade in this album.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that is phenomenal. And it is stranger the fact that they, pull out math rock or
Like
groove
nu
metal,
metal,
for 2
yeah.
seconds and then are just like, we're done.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible. But yeah, when I can get into it, it's great. But when I just can't, it is so repulsive.
Yeah.
And that's the problem because, like, in terms of ranking, I'd say, like, S tier in terms of, like, the quality and all that.
Yeah.
And granted, I was not listening into the lyrics as much, but musically, it deserves that. Listening-wise, like, I don't think I'll pick this one up again anytime soon. I'd give it, like, a 6 out of 10 in terms of just enjoyability, especially knowing that I'd probably
Future
I'd probably
albums,
give
yeah.
Disco, like, a 7 or 8, and California's an easy 9. So, yeah.
All right, Ben.
I mean, I'm bungle-fied. Like,
Bungle-filled.
I'm bungle-filled.
Bungalow Bill?
The continuous story.
Shit, all of our homies do like Bungalow Bill.
Holy shit, full circle. That's an episode that's not out yet at the time of recording. You'll get that in like 5 weeks.
You spoiled it. My MCU brain can't handle this. Oh no, I know what happens to Ant-Man and the pinball machine.
I'm gonna need an edit.
Crushed by the pinball.
I'm gonna need an edit of AJ's MODOK real fast.
Oh, holy shit.
Oh my god.
So Ben, Mr. Bungle.
Yeah. And I kind of said it earlier and agree with Evan that this is my least favorite of the 3 albums that they did with Warner Brothers. And by the way, I keep saying with Warner Brothers because they have a ton of albums that are like demos that they released before this album, and then they just released a re-recorded version of their first demo
Easter
album.
Bunny.
Yeah, the Wrath of the Raging Easter Bunny, which I won't get into it too much, but it was a pretty good album. It does not compare to the Warner Brothers albums, but for the specific Warner Brother release albums, which is the 3, I would say this is my least favorite, but take that with a grain of salt because I love all 3 albums. In terms of my enjoyability of this and how much it kept its Bungle grip on me for the entirety of the record, I would put it in A tier. I'm not going to put it in S tier because I would put Disco in California there by far. I would put it in A tier though, and I would give it like an 8.5. Cool. Because there are definitely low points.
But there are very high highs.
There are a lot of high. Yeah, for me it's like almost every song is
quote unquote, there are a lot of high highs.
Quote unquote. I could talk about that song forever. I tried covering that song with a band.
Shit.
That's how much I liked it.
Whoa.
I love that song so much.
Oh yeah, dude. I overall enjoyed this album. It is definitely very bloated and songs go on for way too long, but like the musicality is just fucking incredible. Like the ability to just switch genres like that is insane, and to do it so well and so cleanly. Mike Patton's vocal range is like really fucking cool. Just seeing and he could also switch it very fast. Lyrical content is very iffy. When it works very well.
Yep.
And it definitely like achieves the reaction that they want you to achieve. But just sometimes it's like too uncomfortable. Sure. Which again is what they want. I would honestly put this in like the same category as The Residents that we listened to like a few weeks ago. So I'm gonna give this like a 7.4 out of 10 and solid B tier.
I did kind of think of them in certain like aspects of this album for sure. So, I mean, hey, it's no Infant Tango.
It's hard to top Infant Tango.
It's true.
Well, guys, that'll do it for this week's very special episode of the Family Album, the Legacy episode of the Family Album.
Full circle moment.
Exactly. Ben and Evan, thank you guys for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, thank you for your blessing for doing this podcast, too.
We should have just said no.
AJ, we've been friends for years. Fuck off.
I'll see myself out.
Oh, my God.
But hey, maybe this will be like a running thing at the end of each season, bring the OGs back.
Oh,
yeah, for what is inevitably going to be like a 3-hour episode.
Yeah.
I am so sorry.
No worries. All part of the fun. Matt, any final thoughts?
I've been bungled.
I've also been bungled, guys.
you're goddamn right you are.
Say my name.
Mr. Bungle.
Kyle, help!
He can't save you now, Matt.
Oh my God.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us on this very epic episode of the Family Album. As always, I'm your host, AJ Tenari.
And I'm Matt Glass.
And I'm Ben.
And I'm Evan.
We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching.
Peace.